3 go to the feature, 9 go to the LCQs, everyone else goes home. The field, for the first time, will enter the Sim Rat Market restart zone. The road is complete. The week of the biggest sim racing event of the summer is here. Heat Race 1 of the SummerSlam 499 is green. Oh, trouble. One car gets turned. That was the Nikitin machine, the 3. He's going to go down to the inside wall. I think he stayed off of it. Oh, trouble in the back of the field. Multiple cars around. It's the first multi-car accident. Trouble up front. Matt Lee gets turned right in front of the leaders. Harris involved. Waring involved. Others pile in. Jack Mace is in the wall. Trouble out back. Austin Nathan Harper is around into the wall. The Nightmare eSports car goes sideways. Andrew Harris, Triscaro, Smith, they pile up in the transfer positions. All 4 for the final time. They crash again. Josh Newman crashes. This is going to be all kinds of reviews coming up, but in the trial of the final time, Donskoy, can he make the move? No, he cannot. Devin Smrecker, what a run. He wins heat race number 1. An all Shack front row for this second heat race. Matthew David Wood, the defending Light Series champ, and Justin Melikar will bring the field to the Sim Rat Market restart zone for the first time in heat race number 2. 12 have moved on. 12 more will join them. Who will it be from Heat 2? We're underway again. Green flag from Talladega. Trouble. A couple of cars around. Cars is in the wall. Brambilla's involved. Multi-car crash. Cars still hitting the outside wall. The big one in the middle of the back straightaway. Oh, big trouble in the trial. A huge multi-car accident as cars go hard into the outside safer barrier. They're going to come spinning to a stop.
Melikar's out of shape. Oh, he's going over the outside fence. Big hit for Justin Melikar as the field flies apart.
Jack Shack teammates will race for it. David Flanagan wins heat number 2. Super Speedway Racing promotion named Pacey Gray Racing to host a marquee event in the middle of the summertime. It would take its usual weekly drivers and offer a larger prize pool than the series had ever seen. That race drew 60 drivers, a full field, and was one of the wildest and most chaotic races in series history. And it was so successful that the next year, series promoters wanted to go one step further. A full-length, elimination-style, marquee event that took up an entire weekend of time. And thus the biggest sim racing event of the summer was born. Now in August of 2026, the field convenes once again in virtual Talladega, but this time it shatters yet another record as PGR brings its largest field ever for the biggest sim racing event of the summer to the high banks of Talladega Super Speedway. This week, it begins the 3rd annual PGR eSports SummerSlam 499. After one night of crazy racing, as the biggest sim racing event of the summer gets underway, it's now time for night 2 of the 3rd annual PGR SummerSlam 499. We wish you a good evening and welcome inside the virtual Talladega Super Speedway for tonight's production of PGR eSports and its biggest sim race of the summer. My name is Dawson Wise, going to be taking you through all of the action. We have got to make things a little bit quick here to start this second night of racing. Really quickly before we get going, you saw all of the sponsors, all those supporting this event scrolling through before this broadcast got underway. We want to thank them one more time. Our title sponsors include That Towing Company and Chris Carter Racing and the Flying Aces. That's Chris Blanchard and Chris Carter. Thank you to them for all of their support tonight. For this opening heat race, a quad of sponsors: Mark Vondell Racing, McCullough Motorsports, Kanawha Valley Key and Fob, and Sim Shop on behalf of 4 of the drivers you'll see tonight in heat race number 4. Qualifying is already done as we get ready to go under the green flag in heat 4. So we will quickly bring in the other member of my broadcast team tonight. Before we get to that, doing the production tonight is Michael Triscaro down on the production controls. I want to thank him for his work. My broadcast partner here for heat race number 4 and the rest of this night, or rather heat race number 3, and the rest of this night is Tyler Vickery, and he'll be joining me here on the call for heat race number 3. Tyler, an exciting night last night, to say the least, but as we get ready here for heat race number 3, a bit of a quick start. What are you expecting here tonight after a night of racing is now in the books?
I think we're going to see a lot of strategy, some same things that we've seen before, like with the Jack Shack crew, with what they did in heat number 2. We're going to see a lot of teammates. I think we're going to have some bigger wrecks. We're going to start seeing a lot more skilled drivers starting to come into the mix, fighting their way in. And one thing I've said before, it's going to be a lot of stuff when it comes to the underdogs trying to make a run for it, as well as who's going to be the big pro players that are going to be knocked out of this early on.
Well, I'll tell you about the format and the payouts as we get going here tonight. Of course, last night we got a little bit more in depth on what those are. We'll tell you about that as we go, but we got to get down trackside and meet the starters for heat race number 3 from the Talladega Super Speedway. On the pole for heat race number 3, one of the veterans of the Super Speedway community, one of its founding fathers, if you will, Kenny McCullough, will start from pole position in his heat race, attempting to make a start in the SummerSlam 499. Alongside him, it's one of the newest entries for one of the teams you'll see this week. They're named the Jack Shack. Alex Hill, who is the only other man not named Malik Ray to win an event called the SummerSlam. He won it back in 2023 as a 94-lapper. Row 2, Garrett Caswell, a dual winner from February's PGR 500. Will start from 3rd tonight, making his next effort at the SummerSlam. He started last year's race as well. Al Baberin will start alongside him in the black and red 0-2. He'll start from 4th in this one. Row 3, Miles Bagley, a Nightmare Esports entry tonight, will roll from 5th in the Chick-fil-A Chevrolet. Alongside him, it's Zach Healy in the 21. He's got Busch Light aboard that Chevy Camaro tonight from 6th. Back on the 4th row and starting 7th, Harrison Crosby will sport a Justin Allgaier style paint scheme tonight in car number 7. Alongside him, a Simrat Market branded entry of Andrew Lewis. You'll see a number of them throughout the week as well. And rounding out the top 10, again, one of our heat sponsors tonight, another veteran of Super Speedway racing, Mark Vondell, starts from 9th. Alongside him, Junsa Lim makes his effort at a PGR marquee event. He'll start tonight from 10th.
Yep, and then you got row number 6 is going to be Kirill Konofovich in the inside row, and then alongside of him will be Jaden Newson, the Canadian, going to be starting in 12th place. Going in row number 7 will be Jaden Newson, or Matt P. Davis, sorry. Then alongside of him will be Jarrett Sabert. Rounding out in row number 8 will be Dennis Orff, as well as alongside with him will be Peyton Tullock. Then running out in row number 9 is going to be Jim Segro, I hope I said that right, as well as then the Coke Series driver of Tommy Gossett, starting out in P18. And then running out in row number 10 is going to be Mike Audrey, as well as alongside with him will be Daniel Selway Jr.
Daniel Selway and Mike Ardrey both started a number of races in the lead up to this race. Row 11, starting 21st to be Miles Stacy in a Ryko branded entry tonight, alongside another one of the heat presenting sponsors, Raul Alvis, carrying Sim Shop aboard his 54. His efforts in the SummerSlam start from 22nd. Row 12, Brandon Lopez in the Red Bull branded entry start from 23rd, alongside Gordon Spain, who makes his PGR return tonight in car 38, red, white, and blue aboard that 38 machine for Dega Pros. Row 13, Patrick Millette will start from the 25th position. Car 38 on the side of the car, alongside their Redline Racing Network's Matt Metler, who will start from 26th, carrying Redline Racing aboard that Chevrolet. Row 14, another high brand entry in this heat race. Sean Conklin returns to PGR tonight with a start in the SummerSlam 499 heat race, alongside the two-time defending winner of the SummerSlam 499, Malik Ray. He has a provisional for Sunday, but if he gets in through tonight, it's all gravy the rest of the week for him as he looks for championship belt number 3. And then the last couple of cars on the grid did not make the heat race tonight, so not a full field. It's only 28 out of the 30 that were slated for this heat race. We'll remind you of the format here briefly before we go under the green flag. The top 3 finishers out of 28 cars will advance not only directly to the SummerSlam 499, that's right, the duels are gone. It is replaced with just an advancement straight to the feature. They will also move on to what we are calling the top 24 shootout, the pole shootout. It's gone under a couple of names this week. That will set the top 12 rows for Sunday's feature. That race will take place Saturday night after the last chance qualifiers. That's only the top 3. It's very exclusive this time around. 4th through 12th advance to last chance qualifiers on Saturday evening. In this case, being Heat 3, those drivers would go to last chance qualifier number 1, as will the drivers in Heat 4 coming up right after this. And we'll get into the format of those later in the week. Tonight, 12 cars in, 16 cars out. That's all you need to know. 3 are getting the golden ticket right into Sunday. It should also be mentioned, it is $60 to the heat winner. So, Tyler, there is something on the line to win, but more importantly for a lot of guys tonight, just trying to keep their run alive, trying to make it to Sunday and have a chance at the championship belt and $2,000 when we get to the end of 188 laps Sunday evening.
Yeah, absolutely. As I just looked in the background, we just had an incident going on further back. The 78 of Jaden Newsom just it parked it into the outside wall. That's an interesting situation there already. The other thing I want to say too is he looks like toes into the pit, so I wonder if he had he is crawling, so I wonder if he has a situation here with maybe an equipment malfunction as he is trying to get back up to speed. But going back to the situation when it comes to how these drivers are getting all set up ready for this race, a lot's going to happen, and these guys have the mindset that they want to be able to make it into this race. So we're going to see a lot of guys being aggressive. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised. We see 3 Coke Series drivers are going to be in this race, so I would not be surprised. You see some of those guys start really working their way to the front. Malik Ray can pretty much do whatever he wants to in this race, knowing that he is going to be in the Sunday race because of his championship provisional. So would not be surprised if we see some guys getting really aggressive here, especially with that extra fast repair that we have available.
Number of big name drivers in this opening heat. You'll see a number of the biggest names in the event in tonight's middle heats. Of course, flanked by the front row, McCullough and Hill. Garrett Caswell, again, a dual winner from February, a starter in both of the last 2 PGR marquee events. These fields tonight, star-studded. Last night's were very, very good, very talented fields. Tonight, some of the biggest stars take to the racetrack with their attempt to make it in to the SummerSlam 499. 35 laps the race distance, 100% fuel, no pit stop required. You do have a fast repair in the heats. You get one mulligan, one do-over to keep your hopes alive and make it to the biggest sim race of the summertime. Kenny McCullough, one of the founding fathers of super speedway racing, works into the sim rat market restart zone for the first time. Green flag is in the air. We're underway in heat race number 3. Down the back straightaway for the first time as Kenny McCullough controls the field down to turn 3. Alex Hill flanks him, but Tyler out back. Alvis, Gossett, amongst others, already 3 wide. The earliest moves to the wall we've seen all week.
and we're not surprised with that, especially with Tommy Gossett. Everyone wants to follow some of those pro drivers since if you see another few, we got about 5 or 6 drivers now getting up to that third lane. It is not taking long at all, as there's Alex Hill looking to be able to go, as he's going to defend the high lane here. We're going to be 4 wide with Tommy Gossett now getting blocked by Alex Hill, and we are 4 wide for second place.
Yeah, that was Al Baberin that got out of line in the 0-2, but flew too close to the sun and went too far up front. Aggression from Tommy Gossett in the Rainbow Ryko machine. He's going to go all the way to the point, plus 17 in a lap and a half for Tommy Gossett. Alvis behind him, plus 20. Spain, plus 21. Drivers proving you can make the moves early. It's a contrast from last night. Last night, calm early in these heat races. Tonight, these drivers going immediately to the outside lane and making it happen, and Alvis is not satisfied. Raul Alvis turns left on Gossett. He wants to leave trouble. Alex Hill harder to the outside while the big one strikes to the tri-oval. Multiple cars involved as half the field flies apart. Several drivers are in this. Metler, Baberin, Hill, Keeley, maybe Conklin as he tries to scoot by, and a number of others. Tolik is in this. Crosby is in this. Gordon Spain appears to be involved as well. Brandon Lopez gets a piece. Half the field in the tri-oval just blew apart as Alex Hill, one of the favorites in Heat 3, goes around.
And that's what usually happens when we have aggression very early on too. And man, that was just pretty much a grenade waiting to go off, and it went off very early too. And you have to say this too, Malik Ray. I don't know how he managed to make it through that. I thought for sure he was going to be involved in it, but he was able to make it through. As we're looking at the replay here, just nowhere to go for a lot of these guys. Everyone's spreading out, taking the pit road. You could see there the 21 sliding around, and man, Mark Von Dell, you could just see some of these cars trying to make all their maneuvers as quickly as possible.
Man, and Sean Conklin is in this. I saw him scooting through the end of the incident. He is involved. See, Hill gets turned to the right there as they were jockeying back and forth and side drafting quite a bit there at the front of the field. Man, a couple of cars get some big hits in this. Trying to figure out which car the 56 was towards the tail end of that crash. So we'll try to get an idea of which car that was that kind of hopped over one of the cars on the front straightaway. But again, you saw the side drafting, the aggression early from Gossett. It's actually going to start above Alex Hill. I initially thought, no, it starts below him. Caswell to McCullough, up into Hill, and then across the front of the field, and several cars get big hits here. Gordon Spain has major damage, Metler, Bagley, so this actually goes further up than I initially thought, as multiple cars in front of the initial crash get in as well. There's Crosby and Metler going sideways, amongst others. This is almost 2/3 of the field that has some involvement in this incident.
Another one of the drivers that we're going to see a lot of too, like some of the EPI drivers, like Josu Lim got caught up. I think he might have had a little bit of damage from that as well. As actually, I'm double checking to see him. He's got some significant amount of damage. So, going to be curious to see how many of these drivers take their fast repair early. And out of all the cars that come into the pit, only 12 stay out. So that's and half of the field getting involved in this wreck early on, and I'll be curious to see how many of these drivers use the fast repair early, because we still have 30 laps to go in this heat race.
And Tyler called out Junsa Lim there getting involved in it. Andrew Lewis was another one of those cars. Jared Seibert was one of those cars. Dennis Orff involved, as well as possibly Mike Ardrey as well. So again, up to 15 cars involved in some way in that caution. I think the only one to come down pit road that didn't get a piece of that was Malik Ray, the 2-time defending winner, as he comes down pit road just simply to make a trip down pit road. It's still a long way to go in this heat race. And again, as Tyler mentioned earlier, he doesn't have to worry about racing in through the heat. He can afford to come down and kind of reset mentally himself here to get ready to go back green under the first caution of the night. An onboard camera here for Tommy Gossett, your race leader, as he runs up front in the Rainbow Ryko car. Again, plus 17 for him, plus 20 for the guy running right behind him, Raul Alvis, carrying SimShot, one of our heat sponsors, in the second position. And for both of those drivers, again, they went the opposite direction as some of the drivers we saw last night. They said, I want to go up front immediately and get to the front of the field and be able to control the tone of the race. So they run 1-2. Kenny McCullough runs third. Miles Bagley is up to fourth. Garrett Caswell is still hanging around in the fifth spot. The rest of the top 10, bit of a shakeup here. Karol Kanatovich, sixth. Matt Davies, seventh. Patrick Millette, eighth. Jim Segredo in ninth. And Sean Conklin, you saw him spin through the tri-oval there. He's 10th after all of that, plus 17 on the race after getting involved in an incident. And that should tell you the magnitude of that one. We'll remind you of a rule change for this year's SummerSlam 499. The choose cone is in effect. The drivers are getting ready to choose, in fact, as we speak. You have to choose a lane by the start-finish line. There is no choose cone marker on the iRacing scan of each racetrack yet. Some of them have it. Talladega does not. And because of that, drivers will be using the start-finish line and the middle A in the word mark Talladega that comes across the start-finish line. You'll see it pop in a frame here. The word mark there, the middle A is your choose cone. You have to be to the outside or inside by the time you get to that word mark to be able to not be given a penalty. If you drive over the A, you get an end-of-line penalty. Chris Taylor was the only car that I know of last night that received a penalty. And because of the choose, you're going to see a lot of drivers pick the outside lane tonight. This was a pattern last night as well. This setup on restarts has not provided the bottom lane a lot of energy on the jump of each green flag. Garrett Caswell's daring enough to go down there, though, as is Matt Davies, amongst some others. Looks like Millette is one of those cars that may have jumped down to the bottom side. Segredo is going to take a shot down there. So is Jaden Newson, Matt Metler. So a couple of cars involved in the caution. And we saw last night, Tyler, in a couple of the opening heats, taking the bottom could cost you a spot in the SummerSlam 499, but it could also gain you a spot in the SummerSlam 499. My mind takes me to Jack Mace at the end of Heat 1 last night, or rather Heat 2 last night, where he went to the bottom, got all the way from 11th to 2nd on the restart, and managed to advance.
Yeah, and that's the big thing is you can really take advantage of the way these choose cones are. You can definitely move yourself up. So especially with Garrett Caswell. Garrett Caswell moved up probably about 8 positions on the choose, and this would be a good opportunity. All Garrett needs, and this is the one thing for the drivers on the bottom lane, one good restart, and that's going to be able to give them enough momentum. And if you see someone or even see a big enough gap to move yourself up into the high line, move up as quickly as you can, and there's your spot secured for the time being throughout the run of this race.
So again, resetting the choose for you. Tommy Gossett will be the control car for this restart as he elected the outside lane on the choose. As Garrett Caswell will line up to his left elbow, row 2, Davies and Alvis, row 3, Millette and McCullough, row 4, Segredo and Bagley, row 5, Newson and Kanatovich. Remember, Kirill Kanatovich started last year's SummerSlam 499 as well and ran up front in points in that race. A number of experienced drivers in these marquee events in this opening heat of night 2. To the Simrat Market restart zone we go. Green flag back in the air, and as expected, the outside goes, the inside does not. Gossett off to the races. Alvis off to the races. They're both going to be clear and have the decision here into turn 1 where they would like to go. They'll stay up on the wall, and this is notably different from what we saw last night where the 2 lanes faded down to the bottom to the double yellow line. The outside lane is going to stay all the way up against the wall. Shades of last year's next-gen package, which is what this setup reminds me of once these guys open things up here late in this race.
Yeah, and you could see it too, especially with the experience that Tommy Gossett has too, with everything with what they did for the Coke Series. And I think some of the other drivers know that Tommy Gossett's going to be the one that they're going to have to follow. And at some point in the race, they're going to have to start making moves to either make a pass around him, because if he makes it into the feature, that's going to be one less spot, one more driver that you're going to have to fight with, especially to get that $2,000 paycheck at the end. As you can see, Conklin there already down to the bottom. Sean Conklin there, another driver with having his other teammate that's going to be in a later on race with Dylan Basin, the RFK driver. He is going to be working his way up in the middle lane and keeping his distance on a higher groove. And we've seen this time and time again that side draft's going to play a big factor as well, as they are 3x3, about third on back right now.
You always say the first 2 heats are going to set the tone for the week, and that has not been the case so far. These guys want to go racing early and often. Conklin gets a big push from the 2-time winner Malik Ray and almost turns Alvis in front of the field. Alvis pokes the nose out front to the lead, but almost getting more than he can handle from out back from the Conklin machine. Down to side draft were Gossett and McCullough. This reminds me of the Jack Shack cars last night. They came down to the middle to side draft the bottom. Gossett will lead that lane down again as they are getting all kinds of squirrely out back. Block for Kenny McCullough. He's going to split Tommy Gossett. Welcome to a PGR marquee event for Gossett there in the Ryko branded entry as Kenny McCullough hangs him in the wind. Right to the middle. Conklin middle goes all the way to the wall. Splits out Raul Alvis. Contact between the two, and cars are getting loose on their own just 7 laps into this race. Big move from Malik Ray to get up in line right there in the 88 as the 2-time defending winner is throwing big-time haymakers here into 3.
And especially with the way these cars are too, and the way the aero push is man, as Kenny McCulloch goes down to the middle lane to try to leave Conklin out to dry. Conklin's got help though, but these guys know that as soon as you see any kind of lose momentum, whoa, someone going way down on the inside. That is Daniel Selway going into pits. But still keeping an eye on this lead battle right now. These guys know that as soon as any line starts losing momentum, you need to jump out of that line immediately. I'm not surprised we're seeing these guys going really at it when it comes to the blocking, but everyone's still 3x3. Bottom lane is struggling a little bit there. There goes Malik Ray up to the top on, I believe that is Raul Alves. It's hard to tell the numbers real quick, but Malik Ray trying to control the high line here again as the 54 actually now of Raul Alvarez is leading the middle lane. A lot of jockeying further back, but these guys are trying to keep their engines cool as well as they're booing the pushes. It's Tommy Gossett almost gets turned there as we're going to
cars are going to get turned. Big crash in the back as cars are in the wall. Crosby's in it. A couple of others got turned out of line. Davies, I think, is one of the cars in this, or at least was one of the cars in the start of it. Millette is involved amongst some others, and as things kind of cycle out towards the back, Mike Ardrey is in this. Brandon Lopez is in this. Al Baberin is in another one. So too is Andrew Lewis, I think, in the 98. Miles Stacy may have gotten a piece of this in the Ryko entry. Peyton Tulloch may be in the 17, but Crosby for sure. Segredo for sure. I have to check on Zach Healy as well. This was another multi-car accident that got started up towards the front of the field. And you noted the stack up on the bottom as they tried to line each other up for a push. It ends up accordioning back and resulting in a major incident. There was one car on the brakes there. I think it was the Seibert car, and it was. He jumped on the brakes when they stacked up on the bottom lane and tried to jump in the binders. And as he comes back up, Lopez into him, Caswell into Lopez, and the stack up is just too much to overcome. Davies gets turned. He's going to end up actually going in the right direction. He does get hit a couple of times. But as the cars come back up, you see Ardrey nowhere to go. Crosby up ahead. He had nowhere to go. Caswell, nothing he could do either. Baberin is in this, amongst some others of guys that just had no space to go, no time to react.
No, not at all, and especially with Patrick Millette having the meatball flag there with the damage. I'm kind of wondering as well, when we seen the lap earlier, that Daniel Selway, I had to double check on that. He blew up the motor. Hence the reason why he came into the pits, because he had a meatball flag, so he's got his thing repaired. But you could just see there the onboard of Patrick Millette. He got getting on the binders as quickly as he could, but there was nothing he could do, and it was just an innocent bystander at that point. But we'll see whether or not he still has a fast repair available, and that was it's not a good way to be about halfway through this heat race and getting caught up in a wreck like that.
And a couple of guys have already been caught up in a couple of them. Lopez, Ardrey, Millette, Baberin have all been caught up in more than one at this point. So for them, it could very well be at least race-altering damage. I'm not sure anybody has race-ending damage, even with a fast repair gone. But I think race-altering damage at this stage could definitely be said about a few of the cars that are coming down pit road here. It should be noted, by the way, Daniel Selway on that last run just before the crash, what looked to me like a technical issue. His car went straight left off turn 4 and went straight into the inside wall and hit it a ton. Now he has since come to pit road and taken the fast repair and actually has managed to stay only one lap down. Gordon Spain is the other car off the lead lap at this point. They're in 27th and 28th. So lucky for both of those cars, really. Spain had big damage in the first caution, and of course Daniel Selway had something happen there off of 4. Both been able to at least maintain a chance. Actually, Spain is going to get that lap back right here, so it will only be Daniel Selway under the lead lap, or rather off the lead lap on this run, so he will be in position for a potential lucky dog. To re-rack the field for you, Malik Ray continues to run up front. He's plus 27 from where he started, as he again did not post a qualifying time. This is something we've seen him do over the past several months. Kenny McCullough runs back in the second spot. It's another strong effort in his heat race, and my mind takes me back to February. He led 2/3 of his heat at Daytona before eventually a last lap crash took him out of contention. He's hoping for a different fate tonight. Raul Alves right behind him and on board for him as well. Bit of a unique camera angle, by the way. We get the whole setup in that camera angle there with the SimShot branded entry in the 54 as he runs in the third spot. He's plus 19 and quite frankly has run very well to this point. Very composed for Raul Alves so far in this one. Sean Conklin runs right behind him in the fourth spot with Tommy Gossett in fifth. The pair of drivers that know each other well. 3 of those guys, really, Alves, Conklin, and Gossett. Miles Bagley runs in 6th with Jared Seibert in 7th. Karol Konanovich runs 8th with Jaden Newson Knight and Junsa Lim in the 10th position. In fact, we're going to get an onboard look with Junsa right here as he gets ready to negotiate this next restart from the 10th position. Last 2 cars in right now would be Matt Metler in 11th and Andrew Lewis in 12th. They would be the last 2 spots in the LCQs. Of course, Malik Ray, Kenny McCullough, Raul Alvis would take the feature spots. And it should be noted here, they are going to choose, I believe, here at the line. So as we get ready to go back under the green flag, and you may wonder why Malik Ray just hung it right in front of the entire field. I don't think he realized that it was one to go, but nonetheless, he does make his choice in time. But, you know, as we get ready to go, you may be wondering, well, if Malik Ray wins, he still has a provisional. Will that affect the feature transfer spots? No, it will not. It will just mean he will not have to rely on the provisional. There will just be one less car in the feature. He could still advance the same way any other driver can. It's just in a situation where he does not advance through the heats, he can fall back on that provisional and still race on Sunday. Remember back to February, Daniel Falkingham finished outside the transfer spots in his heat, still raced on Sunday in the PGR 500. So keep that in mind. If Malik Ray finishes in the top 3, there will just be one less spot on the grid that would have been provided for his provisional. After the choose, Alvis goes to the bottom, Gossett goes to the bottom. A little bit surprising there. A couple of cars ducking out of line. Seibert, Metler, Keeley, Vondell all dive to the bottom as well. Mark Vondell, only 1 spot out of the transfers here, Tyler. A couple of guys outside the spots that could be looking for something here. Vondell is not inside the transfer spots at this point. Caswell, Spain, Alex Hill, amongst others, are outside looking in with the time starting to wind down.
Yeah, and especially Vondell, and we've seen him time and time again. I mean, Vondell, he was the Cinderella story for the March Madness this year, where he was knocked out a ton of the top names there, making it all the way to the championship before losing. And I mean, he's one that you never want to count out either. He can be a big surprise for anyone, and honestly, I would not be surprised if he makes some moves here later on.
Caution number 2 is cleaned off the speedway. We'll see if the drivers change their mindset here, but I can't imagine that they are going to at the front of the field after the racing we've seen to open this third heat race. iRacing.com pace car takes the hard left turn down pit road, and the field is in the hands of Malik Ray, the Tint Solutions Chevrolet. He will bring the field to the restart zone, the Simrat Market restart zone, that is, as we'll get back under the green flag just short of halfway in heat number 3. Green flag back in the air, outside goes. Both cars on the outside get rolling. It was a decent jump for Alvis on the bottom, but his help in Gossett and Seibert and others do not get going as well. Thus the outside will win the battle again at the banking of 1. But again, the outside hangs a little bit higher than I thought they would, up towards the second hash. McCullough's trying to get Malik Ray to come down to side draft, and that gives Alvis and Gossett a fighting chance here.
Yeah, a big fighting chance, but man, that mid pack just did not form up. Then they are really spaced out as this Ford car tandem's getting a good little run. Further on back behind is we're going to have one car, the 78 of Jaden Newsom, thinks about going 3, and he's actually going to force the, I believe that is the 21 is that Keeley out of line. We're going to be 2 by 2, but Malik Ray is commanding this lead right now as Kenny McCullough getting a pretty significant amount of push there. And you can see Kenny McCullough staggering a little bit there, trying to cool off the motor a little bit as these guys are really pushing hard as there goes Conklin around as a checkup for Kenny McCullough having to lift.
Oh man, Sean Conklin gets turned. What a save for Sean Conklin to not hit the inside wall there somehow, some way. His race is alive, but he'll now need a caution with 22 laps to go. We continue up front for now. Up front it continues to be Ray. The moves out back starts to get a little bit bigger. A couple cars get in the wall there halfway down the back straightaway around the Gossett, Konanovich, Newson area behind the leaders. But we continue to run up the banking of turn 3. Top 6 back to Gossett are clear to the bottom lane, but here comes the bottom run. Alvis in the 54, they're going to pull up to the middle to try to get some side draft and get this lane going. Seibert is in that line. Matt Metler was with them for a moment. Vondell is going to hang a left out of line and continue to run the bottom on the push from Jim Segredo. And slowly I see the black and purple blender Chevy for the Jack Shack. Alex Hill starting to work back into the transfer conversations. He's up to the 13th spot provisionally on timing and scoring right now. 21 to go, 15 laps in the books, and the top 6, 7, almost 8 cars back to Alvis are clear here off 2 as everyone else is trying to figure it out. Another technical issue for Selway. He turns left off the end of turn 2 and pounds the inside wall a second time.
Yeah, that's never a good thing. I've seen earlier that his wheel has been disconnecting on him, so that might be another wheel disconnecting and apparently died on him. So that's going to be game over for Selway, especially after having to use a fast repair. But going back to this front row, that bottom lane is starting to get some momentum there. I believe that it's the 22 of Brandon Lopez giving a push to the number 5 here of Jim Segredo, and they're getting a nice little momentum, while Tommy Gossip's leading that middle lane as they're 3x3, but they're only about 5th on back right now. But Gossip's getting a little bit more momentum as he's getting some help further behind him.
Yeah, major props to Seibert here. That middle lane has gained some serious energy over in turns 1 and 2 and gotten Gossip back into the top 5 for at least a moment. Matt Mettler's in that line amongst some others. Further behind him, Gordon Spain returns to the front. Davies as well. Bagley down to cover Gossip, and Malik Ray has no choice but to block. Ray down to block the Chick-fil-A Chevy. McCullough and Newson are now the guys in no man's land as these three triple tandem up front back to Gossip, and that worked out well for the 0-1 in the Ryko entry. Gossip gets all the way to 3rd out of that exchange after getting pushed through the center, and now they cannot figure things out behind him. Mettler and Seibert split. Seibert to the push of Spain, Mettler to the push of the bottom line, and Segredo as they continue to try to work the bottom and middle lanes. Another car out of line. Kenny McCullough, the boss man from McCullough Motorsports, jumps to the center around Gossett. He's got Seibert, tandem up front, Ray and Bagley, tandem Seibert and McCullough. But here comes Kenny McCullough through the center, gets all the way to the left side door of Malik Ray. He might nose out for the lead by the time they get to 3, but here comes the push topside with Bagley.
Yeah, and Bagley's giving a big push. Gossett was able to give that extra little tap there to be able to get Malik Ray up in front of Kenny McCullough. Kenny McCullough's doing another big little push here to try to get that momentum as Kenny McCullough and Malik Ray go back up to the middle lane as Tommy Gossett's all over the back bumper of Miles Bagley. Bagley having to lift off a little bit, and there goes Tommy Gossett looking at going 3, but Bagley cuts that off instantly as they are now going to get a really big momentum as the 56 is going to start losing momentum here, as that's going to be Seibert losing momentum with the 38 of Gordon Spain not able to get any momentum, as the front row again is starting to get really heated as Malik Ray and Kenny McCullough does a whole switch around, and Gossett's now left high and dry on the bottom lane.
Man, does Kenny McCullough look good in this heat race or what? This has been one of his best performances in a long time in terms of when to make the right move and what to do, although he'll get hung out to dry here for a moment. Crashing! Alex Hill, Matt Davies, trouble behind the leaders, and it's going to be another big one as they come back up into the pack. Multiple cars involved, and Alex Hill is one of them, the second one of the night for the driver for the Jack Shack.
And a lot of other drivers were able to check up and avoid it. Raul Alves was able to get on the binders very quickly. No one able to get behind him and cause any more incidents. So very minimal damage for a lot of drivers. But man, another unfortunate incident for Alex Hill as he's already used his fast repair. But this does help one driver, and that's Sean Conklin.
Yeah, it helps Sean Conklin a ton. That's the caution that he was waiting on. Right there as the field comes apart. I thought this was going to be a lot bigger than it was. From the angle that I had, I thought for sure that Hill and Davies were coming back up into the head about half the field right there. You see a bit of an offset push up top onto the back of Alex Hill. He goes sideways, nowhere for the Davies machine to go as he gets turned. Segredo, man, just gets a piece of this in the 21, and he's who actually kicks Alex Hill back to the right. Brandon Lopez is in this. Baberin, Keeley may have gotten a piece of it in the ensuing stack up. But when Hill started to come back to the right, I thought this was going to be another dozen cars involved in this one. Somehow we get away with it here in turn 4. But for Alex Hill, he's already been in one tonight. That's the second one for him, and now puts him in a tough position with just about 15 laps to go. Man, that was a close call for Raul Alves as well in the 54.
Yeah, I honestly thought that could have been a night ender for a few drivers as well, especially if both of those drivers came back up the track, especially Alex Hill. That could have been disastrous for a lot of them, especially Raul Alves. Alves was able to check up hard enough to be able to avoid it. I think he got no damage out of that. There was a few others I seen with some damage, but I'll be very curious to see how this all plays out now, especially with the situation for Alex Hill, who's got significant right front damage, and I think he was the one that had the worst of it out of everyone. So this is going to be a big factor for him, is how much damage is he going to have, and if he's going to be able to get enough of it repaired enough. So that's going to be another big question mark, is how significant is this damage going to be for him, and this is putting a wrench in his opportunity for him to even just make the last LCQ if he can't make it up to the top 3.
Well, the Jack Shack, his team, have been pretty successful so far at sending their cars, if not into the feature, at least into the next round, into the LCQs, to have an opportunity to race in the feature on Sunday. Of course, we saw their first few cars throughout the night last night. Matt Lee advancing with his finish last night of the LCQs, and then they went 3 for 3 with their cars in Heat 2, with MDW, Matthew David Wood, David Flanagan both advancing into the feature. Flanagan gets the Heat win. Justin Melikar will race in the LCQs. So they go 3 for 3 in Heat 2. They're 4 for 4 to this point, at least from what I have written down. And now with Alex Hill, they could make it 5 for 5, but obviously a tough start to his race and tough sledding the rest of the way for him. Now he does have still about 15 laps to go. And again, Alex Hill, if you remember back to his super speedway racing career, he has done this kind of thing before. In fact, in the one race named the SummerSlam that was not won by Malik Ray, Alex Hill came from mid-pack to the front with very few laps to go. Granted, it was a much different package at the time, but the thought of it is the same. Hill knows how to get the job done late in these races. Go from mid-pack, a spot out, to a spot in, a spot with a chance to get in victory lane. So for Alex Hill, this is not unfamiliar territory for the driver of the Blender Chevy. We'll re-rack the field for you. Get ready to go back green. Getting towards late race territory here for these restarts, but nonetheless still about 15 laps away from the checker flag. Malik Ray continues to lead heat race number 3 ahead of Miles Bagley in the second spot. Jared Seibert runs back in third. It's been a very impressive run for him in the 23 on the timing and scoring. He is the 56 on the side of that car, the Napa Night Vision Toyota Camry. Kenny McCullough runs fourth. I was just getting ready to talk about how impressive he has been in this race, and he's got a chance here to put himself in the feature. Gordon Spain runs fifth for Team Deca Pros. Good recovery for him and for Jaden Newson, who's had a couple of different issues tonight, technical or incidents on track. Tommy Gossett runs seventh. Karol Kananovich runs eighth. Mark Vondell is in the transfer spots in ninth, as are Matt Mettler in 10th, Jun Salim in 11th, and Harrison Crosby in 12th. Choose at the line. Malik Ray goes to the top, so does Bagley. Seibert is going to take a shot on the inside, and he'll have to look back to Jaden Newson as the next car to go to the bottom lane behind him. Tommy Gossett will go down there. Mark Vondell will go down there, as will Matt Mettler, to make up the inside of rows 1 through 5. Everybody else holds serve on the outside, and Tyler, this has again been a storyline all week so far. In all 3 heat races, drivers outside the transfer spots are trying to give themselves a chance by getting in line 3, 4, 5 rows up from where they're set to start. And by taking the track position, sometimes it pays off, but a lot of times last night it just did not. The bottom lane has not been viable on these restarts.
No, and I'm kind of curious on if it's just because of the starts having to turn your head to the right to be able to watch the outside lane driver being able to take off on those restarts. I'm also kind of wondering if there's a potential that maybe there's a little bit of more I would say just the racing terms, like there's probably some marbles down there or some kind of dirt on the track that is causing these drivers to not get any kind of grip on those restarts, because we've seen it even in Heat 1 and Heat 2 where drivers were not able to get up to speed on that bottom lane, and it showed big time as well. And I'm kind of wondering if that's been what's been the significant case for every single restart that we have seen so far.
And another one coming here with 15 laps to go. Actually, rather, with just inside of 15 laps to go. It'll be 14 laps remaining in heat race number 3. Again, 2 more races on tap after this one, so don't go anywhere once this one ends. We have 2 more heat races set to decide another 24 spots in both the feature and the last chance qualifiers. Boy, a long extended blink there from Malik Ray. He is able to get it back underneath him here as we get into the Simrat Market restart zone. But a moment there nonetheless. Ray and Seibert on the front row. Green flag back in the air. 14 to go in Heat 3. And again, the story is the same. Outside goes, bottom does not. Top 4 cars pushing on the outside back to Spain. Top 3 on the bottom are connected, but it's going to take about a half a lap to get the run going, and now it'll take even longer. Gossett bails. Newson looks center on Seibert. An aggressive move trying to get up to the middle. And I think guys have written something down. Remember what Jack Mace did last night. He did this exact move. Pull up off turn 2, try to maintain a little bit of momentum and get the line rolling down the backstretch. Conklin, Vondell, Hill all join in line. Mettler trying to work the bottom, but it's all Malik Ray back to turn 3.
Yep, and there goes Tommy Gossett there jumping down to the middle lane, going way down to the bottom, trying to get the momentum and keeping from any kind of arrow side draft and stuff, but he's coming right back up. Siebert's going to be looking right behind him as well as he's going to start getting some bumps. Conklin's going 4 wide on Mark Vondel as well as on the 7 of Aaron Crosby, and it is getting really dicey now as we almost look like, I think at one point we're going to be 5 wide, but we are hanging on the 4 wide as Gossett can't decide what lane to choose.
How about it? Sean Conklin, and the car behind him is Alex Hill in the 77, who kind of coordinated that move with Conklin to get to the center, and Hill is back inside the top 10 off turn 2. Now the Alabama gang super stretch. It continues to be Ray, pushed by Bagley. Up on the outside of the racetrack, pushed by McCullough. Now Spain joins the party, and McCullough hangs Bagley in the wind. Kenny McCullough to the outside of the 87. Bagley had a choice to the middle trouble. Out back, it's Peyton Tulloch in the 17. He gets around, makes the save. Back up front will go. McCullough ended up hung in the wind there as Hill went with Bagley. Bagley almost throws Alex Hill in the outside wall. Hill gets to the right rear of Bagley. Wide open racing off turn 4. Squeezing is Alex Hill, and McCullough's playing pinball.
Yeah, McCullough's playing pinball, and he is getting really aggressive. We are going to go 4 wide there. The 78, Jaden Newsom's going to be looking up all the super high line there. Raul Alves is giving a huge push, and then the 38 there is Gordon Spain getting out of it big time. We're back to 3 wide, but things really shook up there. Everything shook up front too. Tommy Gossett leading the bottom as Alex Hill is pushing Malik Ray. Malik Ray is continuing to come down. Malik Ray is going to slide in front of Tommy Gossett to try to slow up the momentum. It's not going to be enough as there goes Conklin giving Tommy Gossett a big push there as they are dooring each other as well.
Folks, if this is a preview of what's to come this week, you're going to not want to leave your seat throughout the week of racing that we have ahead, because this is the potential of this setup on this next-gen car. Hill got to the right rear there of the leader Malik Ray, and he goes all the way to the point. Alex Hill, for the first time since starting up front, is back up front on the push from Kenny McCullough, and it calms down, but only for a moment, because here comes the bottom. Gossett reloads. He's got Conklin with him. Metler third in line as the bottom tries to roll back to the leaders again. Top side is Hill, then McCullough, then Bagley, then Newson, who made that 4 wide move with Raul Alves just a moment ago, and now the middle's going to try again. Garrett Caswell through the center. Metler up to cover that. Malik Ray relegated outside the top 15. Big run for Bagley, bottom side as he tried to trouble Alves and others. Metler spins. Kananovich spins. Multiple cars involved in the tri-oval.
Malik took a shot as well from the 7 as Harrison Crosby was wrecking, I believe. Malik Ray took a shot there on the right-hand side, but multiple cars getting caught up in it. But I think everyone was able to hang on to it for the time being. But still, that could have been a lot worse than what it was.
And again, we finally get an opportunity to take a breath in this third heat race, but this time it was Raul Alves that was one of the first cars that got turned around in car 54. As we'll start to go back and take a look at what brings out the fourth caution of this third heat race. We are inside of 10 to go. And again, it was Alves, the first car I saw get around. Kananovich is involved in this. Metler, Crosby, Caswell. There's Millette in the 38. Oh, man, there's the shot to Ray. That was on the left side of your screen. That was the shot from, I want to say it was the Alves car to the right side of Malik Ray. And we'll take another look at this here off turn 4. And a product of the squeezing and pinballing we were doing is that sometimes the pinballing happens right as a driver lines up a push. Caswell going to push Metler. Metler may jump in the brakes just a little as Alves drifts down the racetrack, and it is on from there. You see Alves come across. Crosby, oh man, what a tough break for Kananovich, who gets netcode involved in this one. And watch as it's actually going to be the Kananovich car that comes down from the top and bang, right there on the right side door of the Tin Solution Chevy and Malik Ray. So 6 to 8 cars involved in this one. And after the racing we saw, you called it a time bomb earlier, Tyler. The time bomb's gone off 4 times already in this race, considering how close to the edge these guys are willing to get.
Yeah, and especially now we're getting ready to finish lap 26. That means we're going to be at probably 8 laps, 7 laps to go by the time we get to the green flag here again for this next restart. And I would not be surprised we start seeing guys really going at it. And Malik Ray comes right into the pits as well. Raul Alves, Kirill Kananovich, Mark Vondel, as well as Gordon Spain. Those guys, I think, all going to use their fast repairs now as Malik Ray is backing up in his stall, so he must have had a significant amount of damage that he is using his fast repair. So Malik Ray is use this faster pair. So that's going to be an interesting situation to see what he decides to do the rest of this race, whether or not he's going to try to make it into the LCQ at least, or make it into the top 3, or have to use that provisional.
Well, obviously, he does have the provisional to fall back on. We've noted that at length tonight. And, because of that, I feel like you're not going to see a mindset change from the driver of that number 88 machine. I feel like he'll come right back to the front because he wants to experience what Sunday's going to be like up front in that race, in the feature race. He doesn't want to sit back. There's no value for him to sit back and wait to come up to the front and race. It's going to be more notes that he has for Sunday in trying to defend his championship belts. We'll reset the field for you again under the 4th caution of this heat race as Alex Hill continues to lead the way. He's gotten back up front and now leads the race inside of 10 to go. Miles Bagley runs in 2nd for the Nightmare Esports group just behind the Alex Hill machine. Tommy Gossett continues to be impressive in his moves as he has kept his head above water, and more so than that in this race as he runs 3rd right now in the 0-1. Kenny McCullough runs 4th, still impressive for him, still very much in the conversation to get a victory tonight in heat race number 3. Sean Conklin runs in the 5th spot with Jaden Newson in 6th, Jared Seibert in 7th, Junsa Lim in 8th, Harrison Crosby in 9th, and Garrett Caswell in the 10th spot. Last 2 cars in as of now, Andrew Lewis and Patrick Millette. An onboard shot here with Dennis Orff, another one of our onboard cameras for this 3rd heat race. He currently runs in the 20th spot. And as we saw last night, Tyler, was these guys get ready to choose. Late in these heat races, running outside the transfer spots, this has happened time and time again across these marquee events. Your race is never over until you cross the start-finish line and the checkered flag's in the air.
Yep, as I think you can agree with my experience for back in 2024 for the SummerSlam 499 for me. I had a roller coaster of emotions from making it through the heat races at a dramatic fashion, and then having the LCQ where I was in that spot to win, and then got wrecked out. But the person that ended up causing the incident that caused me to spin, he got the EOL, and I got to start in the feature in dead last. So I knowing by experience for myself, it's never over, and you've got to be able to set yourself up in the right spot. And if we get one of those last lap wrecks, which I would not be surprised if it happens, be ready. You're going to have to wheel the car and not overturn the wheel either, because you're going to have to really make a ton of evasive maneuvers, especially trying to avoid every single car that's going to be flying in your direction.
Well, it's been an interesting storyline as well this week so far that cars are getting loose by themselves in the middle of the corner as well, and guys are overcorrecting, coming back to the right, spinning under green, and that's not something we've seen in a couple of years. You remember a couple of years ago in the SummerSlam 499 when it was in the Xfinity car, we saw tire wear cause those issues with grip and cause drivers to get loose under the green flag on some of the long green flag runs in those races that week. We're seeing that again this week in a completely different car. So some flashbacks there. You're right, Tyler. Some flashbacks for me to that race, and that drivers haven't gotten loose by themselves in this kind of racing in a long time, and tonight, and really last night as well. And it was some of the best of the best. It was drivers running up front, getting loose, trying to get one more spot, trying to make a quick move, and it's just not as possible. These cars are getting out from under them by themselves. Alex Hill chose the outside lane for this restart, but some cars have taken advantage of some track position. Sean Conklin goes to the inside of the front row. Junsa Lim goes all the way to the 3rd position, 2nd on the inside. Garrett Caswell moves up. A couple of other cars. Andrew Lewis moves up. Matt Davies moves up. Segredo, Lopez. Some cars now in the conversation to advance that weren't just a moment ago. 4th caution cleaned up inside of 10 laps to go in heat race number 3. Green flag back in the air. Alex Hill punches the loud pedal, and off towards turn 1 we go. Bagley got a pretty good jump behind him. Lim and Conklin got going on the bottom. That lane has just not been viable for restarts, although this time 4 cars connected back to Andrew Lewis. They're going to be very much in the picture, more so than they were last time. And if this outside line continues to stay faded up, this bottom lane is going to get a huge run to 3. In fact, it's already going. Conklin and Lim have hooked up, and here comes the bottom.
Yep, and the bottom's got a nice little run, but it's right now 6 on 5 right now for those guys. Actually, 7 on 5. It's making it a little bit tougher as there goes Alex Hill looking at potentially going down to the bottom. Not going to work as there goes Miles Bagley going to take his right rear on him, forces Alex Hill to the bottom lane, and there goes Tommy Gossett trying to do everything he can on getting this push. As there goes, I believe, Garrett Caswell having an issue as we got a wreck further behind.
Oh, that's a big hit. Millette's hard in the wall. A couple of others. Miles Stacy is in this as well. There's one other car that has spun to a stop in this also. Gordon Spain may have some damage in this. And several cars come spinning to a stop in the tri-oval. And Miles Stacy is going to let this thing roll off the banking. He was beached there for a moment and still is. So for the Ryko machine of Stacy, that is a tough break for him as several cars get involved in this one. Fifth caution of the night is going to send us close to overtime. It will not quite get us there. Look at the hit from Millette right there. As off turn 4, it's another stack up in front of Millette. You see Crosby, he jumps in the brakes, and it's an offset push a couple ways. And Stacy, you see, he pushes Millette down, gets way offset, and then they come together there as they met in the middle for the real estate. And around with Millette, this is a hard hit for the 38 up off the ground. Stacy comes back down. Baberin narrowly misses this one, and it's Keeley, the other car involved. There's the 21. We avoid a big incident again, but that's a huge hit for the Millette machine.
Yeah, and Millette's motor, I think, expired too. It was smoking up. Zach Keeley as well has got a meatball flag from what I'm seeing on live timing, so that's going to require him a fast repair unless he doesn't have that fast repair anymore. But it looks like Patrick Millette is probably going to be done as he's going to fall down a lap here. But man, that was a heavy impact for Millette, as well as the 21 there. Zach Keeley trying to do everything he could to avoid it, but there was nothing he could do there, and that was just a really unfortunate incident. Just to see on the onboard for Miles Staley, there is nothing he could do either with the push and then just getting sent around. And he should be glad he did not get center punched as well there after the spin, because that would have been a night ender as well if he got center punched by another car.
Yeah, again, we've seen this throughout the last couple of weeks as well. The center punch damage on the front of these race cars tends to be pretty close to race ending unless you come and address it on pit road. So a tough break for a couple drivers there. We'll see what they're able to do on pit road to get back in this one. Millette is already a couple of laps down to the race leaders, so we'll see if he is able to get back on the racetrack. Gordon Spain had gone another lap down in the 38, so he needs a minor miracle here. He needs likely another caution to address the rest of his damage, and then he'll be able to be in contention for a spot. Daniel Selway, by the way, has retired from the race as of lap 14. The technical issues are fatal for him. Everybody else is still on the lead lap. 25 cars now, 26 with Spain. Stay on the lead lap and at least have a fighting chance of getting in either the feature or the LCQs. We'll go green with what looks to be 3 to go, so this will not be overtime yet. Any caution after now will trigger one and only one overtime attempt that will finish under the green flag. Miles Bagley is your race leader over Tommy Gossett and Alex Hill. And it's Kenny McCullough in 4th and Sean Conklin in 5th. Junso Lim, a great recovery drive for him a couple of different times in this race to drive back to front. He's 6th. Garrett Caswell 7th. Andrew Lewis 8th. Jaden Newson 9th. And Jim Segredo in 10th. Jared Seibert and Brandon Lopez are the last 2 cars in. Some cars out as of right now that we expected maybe to race their way in. Raul Alves runs 20th. Kirill Kanatovic runs 21st. Matt Mettler runs 23rd. Spain runs 26th. Matt Davies runs 13th. He's been in the top 12 a couple of times tonight. Malik Ray is also outside the transfer spots right now. So again, that would just add 1 spot to either an LCQ or to the feature grid on Sunday if Malik Ray is unable to advance out of tonight's heat race. He does have the provisional for Sunday. Again, another reminder for you all. So again, another reminder if you're just joining us, we are using the choose cone here with 1 lap to go. So the leader, Miles Bagley, will be the first car to choose the start-finish line. You got to go one direction or the other on the middle A, the word marked Talladega, to choose your lane for each restart. Bagley will have control of that. You got to imagine the top few cars will go to the outside lane, and from there it becomes the question of who's going to be the first one to risk it and take the bottom. I thought it might be Conklin. It's not going to be Conklin. It'll be Junso Lim as he goes to the inside of the front row for the first time.
This will be an interesting one for Junso Lim, because I'll be curious to see what he's got. I don't think he's got any other teammates around him with the EPI. Believes he's one of the only drivers with the EPI. but he's going to have the likes of Garrett Caswell behind him, as well as I believe that'll be Jim Segredo behind. So for Junson Lim, he's going to have a really good restart here, and as soon as a gap opens up, he's going to have to jump up as quickly as he can. As actually Jarrett Seibert ends up getting a choose cone penalty for running over the cone, so he is going to the longest line, which is going to be the high lane. So a really unfortunate break there for Jarrett Seibert as well.
Yeah, I think he might be the second to get a penalty tonight. I saw a car hit the box earlier. I'm not sure if that car, I believe it might have been the Matt Metler machine. I'm not sure if he got a penalty for it, but he definitely ran right over the A. But for Seibert right there, with 3 laps to go now, he also needs either a heroic effort right here or a minor miracle in front of him with some carnage. We'll remind you again of February. Your race is not over until the checkered flag flies. Multiple heat races back in the PGR 500 featured last lap crashes that saw drivers go from out to in just in a matter of 1,000 feet. My mind takes me specifically to Logan Helton's crash off turn 4. He was running second in his heat race, and he ends up crashed and out of the event altogether. This thing is not over until the field gets across the line, and even then, the final results subject to a post-race review. So keep that in mind as well. Results will be unofficial, at least for a moment. If anything were to happen, were to explode on the last lap, we'll wait and see if that becomes a factor. It's been a good run for a lot of these top 6, 7, 8 cars in this race, but can they finish the deal? And who gets the 3 spots on Sunday and in Saturday night's pole shootout race? Miles Bagley, June Salim on the front row. Is this the final restart of heat number 3 to the Sim Rocket restart zone? Green flag, off to the races. Bagley did not get as good a jump on the outside as it's been getting all night. June Salim timed him up pretty well, but the push is better up top with Gossett and Hill. Malik Ray threw his car in line, 8 rows deep in line. I have no idea how that move worked, but he manages to get in line nonetheless as the jockeying starts out back of the leaders. They try to get the bottom and middle going. 5, 6 cars clear. Gossett turns left. He wants to lead off too.
Bagley had no choice and had no opportunity to react with that. Bottom line started falling apart, and middle tier is not doing so well as there goes Malik Gray. Miles Bagley couldn't decide as Tommy Gossett goes sideways. He is able to hang on to it barely, but Tommy Gossett now is falling way to the back of the field.
Oh, man, that's going to be a horrible break if he doesn't get a caution here. He's got to hope for one in the next lap and a half or so before they get back to the white flag. They'll see 2 laps to go this time by. Alex Hill has reassumed the race lead. 2 to go in heat 3. Hill, McCullough, Conklin, your top 3. Newson and Caswell out of nowhere to 4th and 5th as they work back up the banking of 1 and 2. Those 2 cars are back in this. Bagley's back in this. Peyton Tolik has June Salim on the bottom. A number of new contenders working their way into this race as they work off 2. Trouble. Crosby, Alvis, a couple others. It's Keeley, the other car involved, and Gossett has his lifeline.
That was a big lifeline, too, for Gossett, as there was going to be huge momentum there on the bottom lane. Jusum Lim was getting a huge push there, was going to start really pushing the 0-2 there, I believe, or actually the 17 of Peyton Tolik. So that was going to be a huge opportunity for them to have a chance at making it into the top 3 before the caution came out.
This is, again, back around Keeley and Alvis were the first 2 cars that kind of got out of shape here, along with Harrison Crosby, who's bad night continues to get worse for that 7 machine. We'll go back and start to take a look at things and how this one got sparked up to send us into our one and only overtime attempt, just short of the 2 laps to go mark. Again, Alvis was the first car I saw get around in the 54. He ends up sandwiched against the outside wall and has some pretty severe damage here on his Sim Shop Toyota. So we'll go back and take a look here momentarily at what brought out the 6th caution here of heat race number 3. Do you see there? Actually, it's Crosby, the first car out of line. Alvis gets sandwiched. Keeley, nowhere to go for him either, as it was these couple of cars to get out of shape. This is right back around where the middle lane had started to go with Andrew Lewis and Malik Ray. Looks like Matt Davies was maybe going to try to take a shot out of line as well. And they get offset again. It's an offset push to the back of Crosby as he's trying to square up Malik Ray. And it's Segredo, I think that is, behind him that comes up and gets to Keeley. Keeley down into Crosby, and this is sickening for Raul Alvis. There's just nothing you can do as a driver. You can't hit the brakes that fast, and Alvis gets sandwiched against the wall. 3 cars involved. All 3 appear to have what appears to be at least somewhat significant damage.
Yeah, Raul Alvarez, looking at his right front, and I think that right front is complete. the suspension's completely broken on it, but he's driving it as if he's got another fast repair. I don't think he's been involved in any wreck until now, so the saving grace there for Raul Alvarez of having a fast repair, but man, that was just wrong place, wrong time for Raul.
Well, the heat sponsors, Raul Alves, is now behind the 8 ball here as we head to our one and only overtime attempt. We will await and see what the damage extent is on his 54 as he makes the trip down pit road. It does appear his right front is not moving, so if he doesn't have a fast repair, I'm curious here as to whether or not, well, he does. So he pops into his pit box. He'll get a fresh race car. So for Alves, he is still very much in this, and he'll be back around Tommy Gossett here when we go back under the green flag in just a moment. So Alves is not out of this yet. For Crosby, Keeley, and Spain, they've already expended their fast repairs, so they are just trying to get as much fixed as possible and maybe have a chance of getting back into this race. Well, it will be an overtime attempt, and let's remind you of the rules for PGR overtime in the SummerSlam 499. There is only one attempt at overtime here in the heat races. This race will finish under the green flag. It will be run out here in this final overtime attempt. Any potential post-race discipline will come down to a review. Any incidents that warrant that review, of course, will be looked at right after the race goes checkered. We had a couple changes last night after the heat races ended that resulted in a couple of drivers not moving on to the LCQs on Saturday, and some spots being left up in the air before we went off the air last night in heat race number 2 specifically. So keep that in mind. It is only one attempt. They will choose, they will go green, they will get the white flag, and no matter what, this race is going to finish under green. It's very similar to how we did it in February. Alex Hill is your race leader into overtime. Kenny McCullough is now up into the second spot with Sean Conklin in third. Then Jaden Newson is fourth and Garrett Caswell is fifth. Miles Bagley, it's a big break for him too after he lost all of his drafting help right there. He's sixth. Peyton Tulloch is seventh. Al Baberin is eighth. He's been involved in a few crashes tonight, and he has worked back inside the LCQ transfer spots. Junsa Lim is ninth. Matt Davies is 10th. Brandon Lopez is 11th. He has a damaged race car still in the 22, but he is continuing to fight this thing out. And Andrew Lewis will be the last man into the LCQs right now. Again, some drivers outside the transfer spots right now. Malik Ray runs 13th. Karol Kananovich runs 16th. Mark Vondell 17th, one of the heat sponsors. Matt Mettler 20th. Tommy Gossett 21st. Raul Alves 22nd. Gordon Spain continues to sit on pit road trying to get some damage fixed in 25th. Just some of the notable names that are still out looking in as we hit the choose for overtime. Hill to the top, McCullough to the top, Conklin to the top, Newson to the top. Top 5, 6, 7, six cars took the top lane. Peyton Tulloch says thank you very much and takes the inside of the bottom lane. Baberin will go with him. Junsa Lim goes with them. So the top 6 all go to the top, and then some cars file to the bottom behind them back to Brandon Lopez.
This could be really interesting, especially we've seen some of these drivers trying to make as big moves as they can, and I will be very curious to see how this plays out, especially with having another front runner that hasn't been up front most of the time. Al Baberin, I don't think we've seen him up front at all this entire heat race. So I'll be curious to see how this plays out for him, on how quickly he can be able to react to the start, and see on whether or not he can push Peyton Tulloch up front and maybe get himself an opportunity to lock into the top 3.
So Alex Hill and Peyton Tulloch will be your front row. Again, it is overtime. So far, we've used overtime here in a couple of these heat races already. So we're 3 for 3 in that regard, as this race will finish right here. But Alex Hill, the comeback drive for him. He's been in the back a couple of times tonight, and he continues to lead the way, carrying the banner for the Jack Shack in this third heat race, and then some impressive drives behind him. Kenny McCullough's been up front all night. Sean Conklin, despite the spin earlier, got his lifeline. He's back in this. Newson, Lim, the comeback drive for Baberin, for Caswell, for Lopez. A number of drivers were out looking in that are now just inside the transfer spots. But I have to imagine that the Rainbow Ryko Chevy of Gossett and the SimShop Toyota of Raul Alves will be the cars on the move right here on this restart. They will be the two with the onus to go to the outside, try to make the third lane work, and make it happen right here. They have one chance to make it happen in this heat race. PGR overtime in heat race number 3. As here we go into the Simrat Market restart zone. Alex Hill, Peyton Tulloch, green flag. Tulloch spins the tires just a little bit on the bottom of the racetrack. Bottom is all kinds of disconnected. Top 6 all go back to Bagley up top, and 3 of them, almost 4, will be clear. Back to Newson up the banking of 1.
Yeah, and that was a really terrible start too for that bottom line, especially for Tolik, but they're getting the momentum back as the O2 of Al Bayburn's going to get a huge run. Conklin looking on the inside. We're going to be 3 wide and a huge run now on the bottom lane as they are pushing 4 deep now on the bottom lane trying to get that run.
Yeah, they're trying, but the middle and outside are going to prevail nonetheless as the Tulloch line starts to go backwards. Hill made the block to the middle. I'm a little surprised. He goes down to pick up Sean Conklin, and that sends Kenny McCullough to the race lead. McCullough down to pick up Alex Hill. Newson off the back bumper. Trouble. Oh. Davies, Caswell, cars going around. Kananovich, Ardrey, Lewis, Crosby, Alvis. Raul Alvis in the wall in the 54. Multiple cars crash. Huge crash. But the white flag is up, and there's 1 lap to go.
Yep, 1 lap to go, and this all Kenny McCullough is still leading. 5 cars all in a line right now, trying to get this momentum going as they are trying to keep everything at bay. Jaden Newsom's going to have a huge run there. Malik Gray's going to look on the inside, but nothing happening now as there goes Peyton Tolik on the inside, but he's got no help.
And potentially these 12 are all in. It's all to race for here. Segredo drops off the back of this pack. It's 12 cars for 12 spots. Bagley to the inside. Can't make it happen. Baber will go with him. 2 cars to the inside of the leaders. Down to side draft comes Kenny McCullough. Hill on the back bumper. How long does he stay loyal to the McCullough Motorsports captain? Off turn 4 for the final time. Kenny McCullough will lead them all back to the triangle. Hill going to stay in line. He may make the move to the bottom. Alex Hill for the win in Heat 3. It's not enough. Kenny McCullough finally avenges his heat race in February, and he wins heat race number 3.
What a finish. And it's about time for Kenny to get his revenge back from earlier this year.
Kenny McCullough ran a nearly flawless race in his heat race in February, but it ended at the hands of another driver. Tonight, he just would not be denied. And for McCullough, that is a huge confidence boost win going into this week as he gets the victory and looked really, really confident in doing it. So McCullough goes to victory lane. He'll get to do the donuts. The other 2 advancing into the feature with him, Alex Hill for the Jack Shack and Sean Conklin will both make trips to the SummerSlam 499 as McCullough comes off through the tri-oval. And these are some long-awaited winning burnouts for the captain from McCullough Motorsports. And as Kenny channels Jimmy Johnson with this burnout here right on the start-finish line at Talladega, it's a heck of an effort for the driver of the 0-3, and we will start to look at the race results, at least unofficially, although for the most part, this field kept it clean off turn 4 on the last lap. It seemed to all happen on the white flag lap before they got to the tri-oval. So the top 12, at least on the finish, appear to have kept things clean. But again, remember, everything is unofficial as of right now. So let's take a look at the results unofficially for heat race number 3. Kenny McCullough is your winner of Heat Race 3 ahead of Alex Hill and Sean Conklin. Those are the 3 drivers heading directly to the feature, also to the top 24 shootout race on Saturday night. Jaden Newson is the first driver in the LCQs. Remember, he started February's PGR 500. He'll start from up front of LCQ number 1 later on in the week. Matt Davies in 5th, a great comeback drive for him. Miles Bagley finishes in 6th. Al Baberin finishes 7th. Peyton Tulloch finishes in the 8th spot. No provisional needed, at least not yet, for Malik Ray, who comes home 9th tonight in this opening heat of night 2. And Garrett Caswell will have another opportunity to race a marquee event. He'll be in the LCQ as well.
And then Josu Lim is gonna be able to make it into the LCQ. And the last driver that's gonna be able to into the LCQ is gonna be Brandon Lopez rounding out in 12th. Then the drivers that do not make it in, Jim Secreto and Mark Vondell, unfortunately having a great run, just got caught up in that last lap wreck, not able to make up enough ground. Then you got in 15th Jarrett Seibert, and then the big upset, Tommy Gossett, Coke Series driver, out in 16th position. He will not be advancing to the LCQ or the feature. Then you got Gordon Spain in 17th, Matt Mettler in 18th, Miles Stacy in 19th, and Harrison Crosby rounding out your top 20.
Rest of the top 30 in the finishing results from Heat 3, Karol Konanovich 21st, Andrew Lewis 22nd. So for Konanovich, not a return trip to the SummerSlam for him this time around. Mike Ardrey 23rd, Dennis Orff 24th. Raul Alvis eliminated in 25th. But the Sim Shop Camry could not get the damage repaired enough to be competitive right there on that restart. Zach Keeley finishes 26th, Patrick Millette in 27th. And of course, the technical issues for Daniel Selway, too much to overcome in 28th. Well, before we get transitioned to heat race number 4, as we did last night, we'll hear from the heat winner of heat race number 3, and a long-awaited one at that. The captain from McCullough Motorsports, Kenny McCullough, joins us in the broadcast booth. Kenny, it's the boys in the booth. You got a copy?
Hell yeah, let's go.
Well, look, I expected some excitement. Obviously, look, I segued a couple of times tonight. I mentioned the February race. You were so good in the PGR 500 heat race in February, and it just did not go your way in the final couple laps. Tonight, it felt like you wouldn't be denied. What kind of went into the game plan that made the execution so good for you tonight? What went into it?
I went into it with the mindset of being super aggressive, trying to maintain the top 3. I knew the guys that I wanted to stay with, which was Alex, Malik. I was going to ride their coattail to the end. Man, I owe Alex big time there, big time. I appreciate that. He don't just know how much. It's been a long time coming. Like I said, I've missed it. I think I've missed it the last couple of years, and I'm locked in tonight, baby.
Well, locked in for sure. You'll be racing not only in the feature on Sunday, but in that top 24 race on Saturday night. The racing in this heat race, I know last night, the guys tonight got to sit back and watch the first 2 heats and saw that it took a little while for guys to get acclimated to the setup and really start to open things up. Tonight, it was fast and furious from the start. What did you see from inside the cockpit as the racing got wild from the jump?
Yeah, I knew it wasn't going to go like the first 2 just because I know Malik was starting in the back. He was going to be coming with some guys. You got Alex in here. Them guys, they love the third lane. I knew he wasn't going to go, 10 laps like them other heats went before anybody did anything. So I was expecting it. Man, that race was intense. I can tell you that. My arms were shaking the whole time.
Well, Kenny, you're locked in the feature and get a chance to race for the pole on Saturday night. What's the game plan for the weekend to take this heat win and transition it into a huge win for you on Sunday to take home that championship belt?
Man, I'm going to stick around and watch all these heats, see if I can learn some more. Watch the best of the best do it. Got to keep an eye on Malik. He knows how to make the moves at the end to win these things. So I'll be watching him a lot during the week and seeing what he does, and just try to get a game plan for Sunday.
Kenny, it's a win for you in Heat 3, and again, a long-awaited one at that. So before we let you go and start to get prepped for later in the week and into the weekend, who would you like to thank or shout out?
Got to thank CCR Flying Aces, Chris Carter. He does a lot for this community. A lot of people don't know what he does for this community, but he pours a lot into it to help all promoters out. And big thanks to him. Big thanks to Michael and them. They put their heart and soul into this thing. I know I'm a promoter, so I know it gets aggravating at times. You always got somebody griping with you about something. You can't make everybody happy, but and thank y'all for doing the broadcast. I watched them 2 last night, and you and Austin did a hell of a job.
Kenny, we appreciate you talking to us here. Congratulations on the heat win tonight. Go enjoy it. Go celebrate. We'll see you Saturday night for the pole shootout race.
Yes, sir. MMS, baby. Let's go.
How about it for Kenny McCullough, the captain for McCullough Motorsports, your winner of heat race number 3. A quick transition to heat race number 4. Now we are going to get set up for that race. Don't go anywhere. Stay with us. More heat racing after this. More big names to come as the road to the SummerSlam 499 continues on with heat race number 4. Stay with us on PGR eSports. We'll be back right after this. We will welcome you back in to virtual Talladega Super Speedway and wish you another good evening and welcome the continued road. The PGR SummerSlam 499, the third annual biggest sim racing event of the summer, continues with heat race number 4. And as we get going tonight, before we have with all the heats, we want to thank our heat sponsors for this one, both North Star Fire Protection and their sponsorship of PGR as a whole. Remember, they were a sponsor for the PGR 500 back in February. They are also a sponsor here for the SummerSlam 499 in August, as well as our friends at SimWrap Market. Of course, head over to SimWrap Market and use our code for 15% off your first order there, continuing the partnership that they've had with us for a while now after sponsoring the Light Series as well this past season. They've come back on for the SummerSlam 499. You'll hear them mentioned throughout the broadcast tonight. Thanks to both those folks for their sponsorship of this heat race. And now we turn our attention to heat race number 4. I'll bring back in my broadcast partner, Tyler Vickery, who joined me for heat race 3. Tyler, Heat 3 was a little bit more wide open than we expected. It featured a lot more racing than maybe we saw last night in Heats 1 and 2 in terms of the wild 3 and 4 wide racing with the big blocks, big moves, big runs. It featured a lot more of that than we saw in either race last night. At the end of the day, Kenny McCullough comes through the smoke and gets a long-awaited victory and now sets us up for heat race number 4.
Yeah, and it was a big victory and a big win there for Kenny McCullough. Much needed. I mean, those guys were really going at it, and like what Kenny said in his victory interview, I mean, he had to be aggressive, and it's kind of been the turning point from what we've been seeing with now 3 heat races now is the aggression. You have to be on full aggression. You don't have to worry about fuel with a 35 lap race, so you can go flat out as quickly as you can. So I would not be surprised if we see more aggression throughout these heat races, and especially this heat race with the stack. I feel like this is one of the stacked fields, but I know we've got another field that's going to be really big, stacked later on in the week. But I would not be surprised if we see a lot of aggression very early on in this race as well.
It's time to head down trackside. You see the drivers set to contest heat number 4, as well as the ones to come in heat 5. There is still one more race to go after this one, as we will get one more race in the books and be 5 out of 8 of the heats down before we get to Saturday's action. The starting grid for heat race number 4, we'll go through that, and then we'll go through the format briefly before we get into the green flag here. The race is the same for 35 laps, but let's meet the starters on the pole. Who better to lead the field in Heat 4 to green than the defending winner of the Great American Sim Race, the 2026 PGR 500 champion Wyatt Gray will start from pole position in his heat race for the SummerSlam 499, looking to become the first man to sweep the crown jewels in 1 year. He'll start alongside a veteran not only of sim racing but of super speedway racing. Alex Coffey will start alongside him, representing the group known as Dig eSports tonight in the second spot, as well as the Precision Speed Solutions group. Row 2, Tater Seipel, father, I believe, of Nick Seipel, who you'll see, you saw earlier in the week, or see later in the week, rather. He'll start from 3rd in the 29. Alongside him, Peyton Holland in car 18 will start from the 4th position, black and purple aboard that Twitch Toyota Camry. Row 3, the Jack Shack's Carson Freeman will be the 6th Jack Shack driver to attempt this race. He'll have a teammate coming up later in the field as well. Steve Sizemore, one of the presenting sponsors of this heat, carrying North Star Fire Protection, will start from position number 6. Back on row 4, it'll be Keith Prince in the 3, a multi-time PGR starter, and the Coca-Cola iRacing Series driver, and carrying the Lucas Oil colors tonight, Michael Guest in car number 8. He'll start from position number 8, looking to make his second straight start in the SummerSlam 499. And rounding out the top 10, Thomas Bennett returns to PGR marquee events this week with a 9th place starting spot, and Scott Warren will start alongside him in car number 76.
Yep, and then row number 6, you're going to have Charlie Morgan there running like almost a Scott Bloomquist kind of paint scheme there. And then alongside with him is going to be the PGR regular of Chase Mistretta. Then row number 7 is going to be Gabriel Dahiri, who I believe this is like one of his inaugural PGR races here. And then alongside of him is going to be Stephen Bocock. Row number 8 is going to be Kevin J. Cunningham, another regular for the marquee PGR races. He will be starting in 15th. Alongside with him will be Kevin Allen alongside with him. Row number 9 is going to be Jeff Byers in 17th place, and then alongside with him will be the 84 of Anthony Trippi. And then in row number 10 is going to be the number 21 of Evan Schilling, alongside with him the Canadian number 79 of Trace Pinieri.
Back on row 11, Max DiFilippi in the number 12, who carry blue, black, and white aboard that machine. Alongside him, Matthew Taylor, back in the familiar black, white, and neon yellow 44. He's made a start in a couple of these marquee events now. Row 12, Zach Dahmer in the 14 will start in the Rogue Energy machine from 23rd. Alongside him, the Mobile 1 machine of Robbie Mitchell Jr., who will start from 24th. Row 13, Ryan Chapman in the red, white, and blue 17 will start alongside Jacob Nichols in the 80 machine in 26th. Row 14, and starting in the 27th spot as we work our way back, I believe is going to be the Ryan Chapman car. No, sorry, Ryan Chapman going to start from 26. Wyatt Hicks and Devin Lyons on row 14. And rounding out the field with a pit start tonight in this fourth heat race is going to be Evan Karlbont. So interesting here, he does miss the grid, and Karlbont will start from pit road, a PGR regular and another Jack Shack car. 3 of the Jack Shack's entries are in this race and trying to make it 8 for 8 for their cars advancing forward in this week's event. Remind you the format here briefly before we go back under the green flag for heat race number 4. The top 3 finishers will advance not only directly to the SummerSlam 499 feature, they will also advance to the pole shootout race on Saturday night. The 4th through 12th place finishers advance to last chance qualifier number 1. The last 9 to qualify. The first LCQ will come from this 4th heat race. Who better to get us started in Heat 4? The defending winner of PGR's biggest race, Wyatt Gray, the defending 500 champ, brings the field to the Simrat Market restart zone. Green flag is in the air. We're underway for Heat 4.
Welcome back as we're down the backstretch, and a lot of chaos happened there on the start as there was a ton of checkup further back. Everyone's spaced out a little bit, but we've got a decent little group here as a few others are looking at going really spaced out, trying to make some room. There goes Alex Coffey now, not able to get the run that he wants, but right now four cars able to get the run as there goes Peyton Holland now getting left to drive by Carson Freeman.
Carson Freeman, one of the youngest drivers in the SummerSlam field, will go to the point as lap 1 is complete on the entrance of turn 1. The Jack Shack entry, black and yellow aboard that number 4, pushed by Wyatt Gray, moved top to bottom. Charlie Morgan in car 69 goes from top to bottom. He's got no help for about 3 car lengths back to Alex Coffey on the inside. The inside starting to get rolling, and Coffey says, I'm going to go to the middle. Nobody else behind him does. Now the cars will start to bail to the center. Tater Seipel is one of those cars that will go with Coffey in the middle lane. And that's what the top wants to see early. Freeman, Gray, Dahari, Cunningham, Bennett, all clear. Now the bottom is trying to get back going as Morgan will push Alex Coffey from the 5th position off 4.
Yeah, and you can just see there, everyone's trying to get any kind of momentum going as it's just not working as the middle lane is trying to get the momentum now. So Ryan Chapman's kind of in the middle there. The 29, the custom member 29, I'm trying to see who that is and cannot tell who that is. But they are trying to get momentum as much as they can as Michael Guess is, I believe, sitting there in the middle lane as there's another stack up on the high side and there is some trouble going on. Everyone's spaced out on that outside lane and things are about to fall apart here.
Yeah, there was a bit of a stack up on the opening start that has caused a few cars to lose the lead draft here. Those cars are Lyons, Allen, and Nichols. Of course, Karlbont does pit start from 29th. Freeman continues to lead back to 3, and the jockeying just continues from 5th on back. These 2 lanes in the center and on the bottom cannot get things figured out. Now they can. Tater Seipel will lead the line off turn 4. He's pushed by Morgan. They've got a couple of cars with them. Keith Prince is in that line down there. Jeff Byers is down there as well. And Zach Dahmer is also in the center is where you'll find Chapman and the Thomas Bennett machine. And now it's 3 wide for the lead. Wyatt Gray got to the right rear of Freeman. He will go to the lead. No, it will be the bottom that goes to the lead. Tater Seipel in the 29. Bright yellow, red, white, and blue aboard that 29. Charlie Morgan beats into the punch-off too.
Oh.
And Charlie Morgan goes to the lead down the Alabama Gang super stretch.
And Tater was trying to go a huge block there, trying to get some help, getting some advice there from his son and it just did not work out. But Charlie Morgan's able to get a huge run here, and we've seen Charlie be able to make some big surprises. There goes Ryan Chapman now on the inside lane, 3 wide, 4 wide for the lead, and Charlie Morgan's having to lift as there are some more door banging. And we are going to have a wreck as there's a few people involved.
It's going to be a big one. Coffee slides. Michael Guest is involved, amongst others. Morgan, Cunningham, and one more car sliding to the grass. That's Robbie Mitchell. And Morgan's going to get a piece of Guest on the backside as well. Big damage for Charlie Morgan. It's damage for a few other cars. We'll wait to see how major it is on the Coffee, Cunningham, Guest, and other machines. But turn 4 again, Calamity Corner. This time, after the 4 wide move by Wyatt Gray, Morgan got spit out of line, and eventually something like that was going to happen towards the front of the field.
Yeah, and it's never good when it happens too. And Kevin Cunningham has a significant damage. He has a meatball flag. Charlie Morgan has a meatball flag, as well as Robbie Mitchell, who is already towed. So we're going to be looking at this replay now as just 4 wide gone wrong as Tater gets up and just causes calamity for everyone else. And just Kevin Cunningham had nowhere to go in that wreck.
It's a tough break for a number of cars. Man, for Alex Coffey, I thought he was ahead of this. He just gets clipped by Michael Guest when he comes back down across the field. And a couple cars go through the grass. You see Dahmer is one of the cars going through the infield grass, and a couple of others here trying to slide through it. There's Sizemore as well, the 08. That's who we're looking at on our screen. He's going to do a little bit of landscaping down there on the inside as well. All things considered, for him, just a spin. For a couple of cars, just a slide. I think it was just a spin for Alex Coffey, who just barely gets clipped in this. The most major damage is Charlie Morgan, who is surely going to have to use the one and only fast repair just 5 laps into this race. So for Morgan, a tough break. Robbie Mitchell also continues to sit on pit road at this point as well. So again, they sandwich into the wall off 4 as that 4 wide staggered continue with Mitchell, Morgan, and Cunningham. And then, man, a couple other cars. Dahmer actually does get hit in that, as does Sizemore. And one other car appears to be involved in this. I think that it's the 12 on the side of the car. Again, these guys are numbered a little bit differently in the session than they are on their custom paints. So I'm trying to get an idea of who that car was as well. They got a piece of this one. Another caution for the first time in heat race number 4. It happens just about 5 laps in to this opening heat, or rather this middle heat race of the night. Carson Freeman continues to lead. A good start to the night for him. Thomas Bennett is second. Ryan Chapman plus 22 for the 17 early in this race to the 3rd spot. Wyatt Gray's dropped to 4th, and Gabriel Dehari is up to the 5th position. Rest of the cars in transfer spots as of right now: Tater Seipel, Keith Prince, Anthony Trippi, Jeff Byers, and Zach Dahmer round out the top 10. Peyton Holland and Alex Coffey run in 11th and 12th. Well, I wondered after Heat 3, Tyler, if we would see more of the racing we saw in that opening heat race just a few minutes ago, if it would be wild and wide open early. And these drivers, much like those in Heat 3, have decided they're going to take the big moves and big runs early and often. It's a complete switch in tone from what we saw last night.
Yeah, and especially with the way these guys are looking at it, they've seen how Heat 1 and Heat 2 went, and they knew they needed to, knowing that they got to be aggressive. So we're going to be seeing a lot of it. And unfortunately for Tater Seipel, he was the cause of the caution, so he has received the end of the line penalty for that cause of caution. So a really unfortunate break for Tater there. Going to be way in the back at the restart of this race. So plenty of time though for Tater to be able to get back up and have an opportunity to still make it into the SummerSlam, but that task just became a whole lot tougher.
Yeah, a couple of notes here before we get ready to go back into green. In fact, a few. Driver missing from this field is Dylan Basin. I'll be interested to see if he ends up in a different heat race this week, because that's one of the big names that we expected to see in this event. We'll see if he had some kind of conflict and ends up in a heat later on in the week. We'll see if that is the case or not. It should also be noted, I mentioned Evan Karlbahn on the grid for this 4th heat race. He is actually in heat number 5, so he has loaded into the session either by mistake or to be a spotter or a team member for one of his Jack Shack teammates. So Evan Karlbahn is not in this race. He has never left pit road. He's not been on track at all. He is going to be in heat race number 5 in just one moment. Again, if you're just joining us, we will utilize the choose cone this week as part of this event, and you'll see the drivers doing it right here. By the start finish line, you have to have declared your lane, either top or bottom, and you have to choose between the letter of the middle A in the word mark Talladega on the start finish line. If you hit that A, if you drive over it, it's an end of line penalty. We've seen a couple already in this week's event so far, and guys trying to get used to running with a choose cone. This is not a normal rule that a lot of these guys would see. It's still not exactly taken off, especially on the super speedway side of the iRacing service. So with that being said, a lot of guys are doing some learning this week with the choose cone, although a lot have picked it up quite a bit already here early in these races. Not a lot of penalties. I figured we'd see some more penalties for hitting the choose cone marker than we have so far.
Yeah, and I think a lot of these drivers are finally understanding and seeing how it happened to a few drivers in the previous heats, knowing that they need to make their decision quick, and if they're going to try to do something last minute, they better have that car fully on the other side of wherever they're choosing at, because if they run over that cone, it's just going to mark disaster for them, especially in a 30-car field like this, especially for a heat race when you're trying to fight your way into a top 3 spot to get yourself in the feature instead of having a fight for an LCQ spot.
So again, the storyline is drivers tend to want to take the top that are running up towards the front of the field, and it becomes the story of who's going to take the bottom, who's going to take the chance and get some track position. A few drivers have opted for that here. Ryan Chapman will lead the bottom. Anthony Trippi chose the bottom. So did Jeff Byer. So did Zach Dahmer. So did Peyton Holland and Alex Coffey. So a couple of cars gaining some positions by moving to the inside lane. It has not been as good as the top on restarts, but if you hang around long enough down there, and we saw this multiple times last time around in Heat 3, if you stick with it, the bottom can work if you get the right cars down there and just stay committed. Don't bail immediately. That line will come back to life. The guys just have to give it a little bit of time and effort and get back to the front. So this time it'll be Carson Freeman, the driver for the Jack Shack, that brings the field to the Simrat Market restart zone. Green flag back in the air. 28 laps to go in heat race number 4. Freeman onto the races. Top 3, top 4 will tandem push to turn 1. Back to Dahari. Top 5. How about it? All the way back to Keith Prince are lined up with a banking of 1, but the restart was better on the bottom. Chapman and Trippi half a car length out front off 2.
Yeah, and Chapman had a really good start there, but the only downside, the entire third car in the bottom lane did not go, so it just ended up becoming a whole accordion effect for the guys behind, not to get any kind of run. And already Chapman's starting to lose momentum. There's Wyatt Gray jumps to the bottom lane there, as Carson Freeman's going to start losing momentum on the top side as things are really getting dicey. 33 of Thomas Bennett's trying to do everything he can, but there goes Wyatt Gray back up to the front as Carson Freeman almost gets turned there on his right rear.
Flexing muscle is the PGR 500 champ Wyatt Gray, but he'll face a challenge to the inside in the form of Ryan Chapman and Anthony Trippi. 2 wide back to turn 1, triple tandem on the bottom, triple tandem up top. Gray brings the line down to side draft. This will park that inside lane to run for now and give opportunities out back for drivers to grab the right rear quarter panel and make some moves. Alex Coffey's one of those cars that I see starting to make moves. He goes the other way, though. Through the center comes the Pay RVA Toyota Camry. He's the red and white car. Trippi up with him. Another car jumps in line behind them as well. That's Chase Mistretta. We wondered how long it would be before we saw Mistretta at the front of the field. The red, white, and black number 8 for the Jack Shack bursts through the middle lane as Trippi gets a monster run all the way to the point off 4.
It did not take long either for Chase to get up there, as there goes, oh my goodness, as Wyatt Gray had to jump up there for a moment as Trippi jumps up to the high groove. Wyatt Gray gets a little bit loose there as Trippi comes up. I don't know if there's some dirty air that's affecting the car, but that got a little bit scary there for both Wyatt Gray and Carson Freeman. Things have settled down. Mistretta, though, is right on the back bumper of Coffey and trying to see what he can do getting Coffey up there, but it seems like no luck right now. As you can see, Mistretta looking around, moving left and right on that car, trying to get some air, but it's no help right now as Mistretta jumps up to the high lane as Coffey chooses the bottom.
Coffey's going to help with Dahmer. Mistretta jumps in line about 6 cars deep, make it 7 cars deep. Coffey gets turned. Alex Coffey turned on the bumper of Zach Dahmer.
Big wreck behind.
Crashing out back. Holland, multiple cars go sideways out back of this. Tater Seipel's in it. Holland spins. More cars spinning up ahead of these guys. Devin Lyons is in it. Kevin Allen is involved in the 76. And another car may have gotten in this. Jacob Nichols is the other car. As they crash out back, man, Peyton Holland still not under control as Robbie Mitchell has to come to a stop to avoid him.
And that was a big impact too as well. And I mean, that was really rough there, and that was no idea what to expect there, and that was not good at all.
Start to go back and take a look here as, yeah, it was Kevin Allen, Peyton Holland that got around. You see Lyons there, and a couple of other cars that get involved in this one towards the tail end of the field. So for the cars involved, a tough break. But again, you feel like this could have been a lot worse. I feel like not a lot of these cars have huge damage here, as I think it's going to get started actually up in front of where Kevin Allen was running up around the Lions machine. Man, they were 4 wide back here, and it just doesn't work out as they were playing pinball.
Yeah, and I mean, Devin Lyons, you could see on the replay, had a huge run, and he had no help from behind or up front. And then he goes and looks like, from what you can see, he taps on the left rear of Cunningham, and then he just becomes a pinball effect the rest of the way. And poor Peyton Lindsay couldn't do anything around it. And I don't know how much damage he's got, but that's not a good way to get caught up in an incident like that.
So we will reset to the front of the field. Oh, man, Tater Seipel, that's a tough break as well at the ending of that incident for the 29, who had just gotten the end-of-line penalty on the first caution flag of the night. So for Tater Seipel, a bad night gone worse. He was in that second group when this thing got kicked off. Again, Coffey was down on the inside, and that kind of stacked up both lanes. And that's where you're going to see this big run come from for Devin Lyons out back, as he got between Cunningham and a couple of other cars back there. He gets around, and then from there, it's on as multiple other cars pile in under that caution flag. So the second caution of the night here in heat race number 4, as we'll head back up. Front cars will come to pit road to address damage. By the way, Devin Lyons got into an incident under the caution as well, spun and got into the outside wall. So he'll have to come address some damage here. He'll be joined by a number of cars on pit road. Anthony Trippi is your leader under the second caution flag. This is a guy we've known from some of the marquee events in PGR over the last year or so, as he's kind of made his way to the PGR scene. He leads this heat race now to that big run through the center. Wyatt Gray goes behind him in second with Carson Freeman in the third spot. Thomas Bennett fourth. Zach Dahmer fifth with Gabriel Dahari sixth. Michael Guest is back up to seventh. Keith Prince is eighth. Alex Coffey is ninth. And Chase Mastretta is 10th. Max DiFilippi and Jeff Byers occupy the final 2 spots in the transfer positions as of right now. Charlie Morgan still sits outside looking in. Steve Sizemore outside looking in. Of course, the cars just involved in that caution flag as well. Only one car is laps down, and it is Robbie Mitchell, who is 1 lap down to the race leaders at this point. So in an opportunity here to get the lucky dog on our next caution flag, should we get one here in heat 4. So Anthony Trippi, a run through the middle, and what was kind of becoming the Wyatt Gray Carson Freeman show here up front. Trippi crashed the party, and that middle lane really had just started to work with Trippi and Mastretta and Coffey and a couple of others that have finally gotten things sparked up as those drivers got all the way to the front. It would be a huge win for Trippi in this heat race if he was able to advance into the SummerSlam as well. Considering the field around him, this would be a big moment for Anthony Trippi's confidence.
Absolutely, and Trippi's been able to make the good moves and stuff. I'll be curious to see how he does up front now, especially with having some of the drivers that are always up in the front and really being aggressive with Wyatt Gray and Carson Freeman. Don't forget you got Michael Guest in there as well. So I'll be really curious to see how this all plays out. And this is going to be a big, tall task for Anthony Trippi, but we'll see how he fares here with having some really strong contenders behind him.
So we will choose this time by, again, the choose cone going to be used throughout the week, and we'll use it again right here. And as expected, I imagine a lot of the leaders will decide to go to the outside of the racetrack. It has been the more dominant of the 2 lanes. Trippi to the top, Wyatt Gray to the top, Carson Freeman to the top, Bennett to the top, Dahmer to the bottom. Zach Dahmer, the first car to jump out of line. Dahari follows him. Coffey will go third to the inside. And then you have to look all the way back to Max DiFilippi, who is running 11th, that will come forward to the inside of row number 4. And a couple of cars out back of them. I think Jeff Byers is the next car down there as well. So, again, the track position game, you want to gain positions, sure, but that line has just not gotten working. But, Tyler, as we get ready to go back green, the last time around with Ryan Chapman on the bottom, when that guy gets a good enough start, that line can get up and going off turn 2 and completely change the image of that bottom lane, how it's anticipated by these drivers. It's been a note all week that the bottom lane is 3rd, 4th, 5th by the time they get off turn 2. But when the leader gets a start like Chapman did last time around, that line looked pretty close to competitive there off turn 2 and completely changed the game of restarts and choosing where you restart.
Yeah, and I think the other thing too is for some of these drivers, I think if you have some teammates that can be right on you as soon as the leader goes, that's going to be the only opportunity you can to have a good opportunity. I mean, we've seen it with Ryan Chapman getting the great start. I think if he has a few other people that are able to time that restart, that can time that restart better, we could see a good opportunity of a bottom line being able to make a run and potentially get around a leader that decides to choose the high lane for a restart.
They just have to hang around long enough to get the run going into turn 3. That's about when we see that bottom lane start to kick into gear. If you can hang around with the leaders long enough for that, then the bottom lane could be a viable option for restarts as we go throughout the week and into the weekend, and especially in the feature on Sunday. Anthony Trippi got to the lead right before that caution flag came out. He'll bring the field back to green here on this second caution flag of the night as the caution's been cleaned off the speedway, and we will give it another shot in the Simrat Market restart zone. Into the restart zone they come. Trippi off to the races. Outside got a pretty good jump. Dahmer not necessarily slow to the punch on the bottom, but the top lane is going to win out this time. Dahmer not close enough to make this competitive. As man, that was a big move out back from DeFilippi, and nonetheless, he did it on the bumper of Michael Guest. That's a big move there for the 12.
Yeah, that was a last second one too. As there goes Anthony Trippi getting left behind by Wyatt Gray. Trippi comes down to the bottom and is going to try to get the momentum, but that leaves DeFilippi all by himself. Well, not by himself in the middle, but he's got no help. His Guest is sitting up there on the high line, and they are 2 by 2 right now for all the way down to 8th as they're going to start funneling in. Oh my goodness, as they almost went 3. They're going 4 wide now for 10th place.
And Chase Mastretta's the odd man out. We usually see him on the offensive end of those kinds of moves. He's on the defensive here early in his heat race. Big block up front by Alex Coffey as he throws it 4th in line in front of Jeff Byers' trouble.
Oh.
It's DeFilippi. He gets turned, makes the save, comes back up and collects Thomas Bennett. Big hit to the outside wall. Multiple cars involved. This is the big one in heat race number 4. Morgan Bennett. Others still crashing. Tater Seipel is in it. Keith Prince, Evan Schilling, Devin Lyons, DeFilippi, Bocock, and others all involved in this one.
Yeah, big incident as well, and that looked really rough too, especially for DeFilippi and everything. Man, that was a rough incident too as well. I'm seeing on here Michael Guest has a meatball, Thomas Bennett with Chase Mastretta with the meatball. That was a significant hit for both of them, and Steve Sizemore, who is already towed as that car has expired.
Some tough breaks there. The 4 wide with Mastretta, we got through that. It was after that, the position that DeFilippi got put in there in the trial. Well, he had it saved, but then as he tried to gather things up, he got into Thomas Bennett as they were staggered 4 wide, and it was on from there. And someone got the wall a ton. I think it might have been the Bocock machine that absolutely obliterates the outside wall. No, it's Sizemore. Look at this hit for Steve Sizemore there. Big hit for the 0-8, and guys out back have nowhere to go. It's a second incident for Michael Guest. I did not catch that the first time. The Lucas Oil Chevrolet is involved in this one too. And so is Chase Mastretta. A couple of the names I had circled for this 4th heat race are very far behind the 8 ball now as Guest and Mastretta get involved in this. It starts up ahead. You see DeFilippi kind of pinballs off a couple of cars. It's this last bounce to the right as he tries to gather the car up. And when he tries to get back up in line, Thomas Bennett's there. And there are some big hits in this one. Most of all, Sizemore. I mean, watch him hit the wall right here as he goes in head first and nowhere for Michael Guest to go.
No, and you could just see Mastretta there right behind, just spinning around on a tabletop pretty much. I mean, there was nothing that Mastretta could do either, and just seeing the rest of the field getting collected and involved in it, that was just a rough hit. And you could see Sizemore coming back down. I think he hit, oh my goodness, he barely clips the 18, and there's Peyton Lindsay going around and going to make contact again with probably Michael Guest there, as Peyton Lindsay was doing everything he could to try to avoid Steve Sizemore.
This is a big-time incident. Again, multiple cars involved that have all come down pit road to address some damage here. On board with Charlie Morgan, as there's just not much he can do. He thought he had the right line picked, and man, he did, but gets collected last minute as someone came down across the racetrack and got into the Morgan machine. So the recovery will continue for the driver of the 69. Here's the onboard with Sizemore. This is the one I was looking forward to, as this is the biggest hit of the week, I think, so far. He's going to get turned out of line, and next thing he sees is the grandstands, and that's a big hit for Sizemore there as he gets the outside wall a ton and tries to bring that car to a stop. Oh, man, got the inside wall, too.
Yeah.
At the end of that for Sizemore, a couple of big hits there and puts his race in severe jeopardy. In fact, it appears as if he has retired that race car as of lap 15. So one of the heat sponsors, Sizemore, unfortunately, is out of the race as of lap number 15. So we'll reset the field here under this, the third caution of heat race number 4. Anthony Trippi continues to lead the way. It actually benefited Trippi that Wyatt Gray got to his right rear. He went down and caught the run at the perfect time as they got that bottom lane going, so he'll maintain the lead ahead of Zach Dahmer and Gabriel Dahari. They're in the 3 feature transfer spots. The rest of the guys in transfer spots are as follows. Alex Coffey runs in the 4th spot with Jeff Byers in 5th, Scott Warren in 6th, Wyatt Hicks in 7th, Matthew Taylor in 8th, Wyatt Gray in 9th, Carson Freeman runs in the 10th spot with Ryan Chapman 11th and Kevin Allen in 12th. Some cars out looking in. Chase Mastretta is 13th. Michael Guest is 17th. Charlie Morgan is 19th. Thomas Bennett started the 500 in February. He's 24th. Along a couple of others, including Steve Sizemore, who we just mentioned a moment ago. So some guys out looking in very similarly to Heat 3. Alvis, Gossett, Conklin at times were all out looking in. And it took a big effort for those guys to get back in. It took some cautions falling their way as well. Obviously, Mastretta, Guest, and others hoping that that's not their fate in this race.
No, and especially with that, and it's a lot that's going to happen here, and we'll see how it all plays out too, especially as we're getting ready to come to the choose. I'll be curious. I mean, it seems like this heat, we've seen the bottom lane's been doing much better when it comes to restarts, but already Trippi, Dahmer, as well as Dahiria all choosing that top line, and Coffey's going to be the first one to jump up.
Alex Coffey for Precision Speed Solutions and Dig Esports will jump to the inside of row 1. He's the red and white pay RVA 54 on the inside of the front row. Jeff Byers is going to jump down with him. A couple of other cars going down there too. Scott Warren makes the jump to the inside. A couple of others. Wyatt Hicks is going to make the jump to the inside, and so is Michael Guest. So for Guest, not really desperation mode yet, but certainly trying to make something happen at the halfway mark to put himself back in position here. But now the entire order has been completely shuffled, and in fact, it's going to get shuffled even more. Big blink there. Oh, man, I thought Alex Coffey was going to get sent to pit road there. He's awfully lucky that he did not get the connection flag, if you will. It's a flag that sends you right to pit road and puts you off the lead lap until your connection becomes more stable. So for Coffey there, keep an eye on that issue. It's the same thing that happened to Malik Ray in the last heat. Both guys extremely lucky there. They had to have been close to the threshold for the connection black flag.
Yeah, those things, and they're never fun when it happens too, because it'll catch you off guard, and sometimes you won't realize it until it's too late, and then it sends you right into pit road. And as soon as it sits you in there, it's almost treats you as if it's a tow as well, and that's what makes it even worse when you have a connection flag like that.
No harm, no foul, though, for Coffey. He reappears, and all is good for now, so he will still maintain his spot on the inside of the front row. Anthony Trippi continues to lead the way. We are down to just the final 17 laps to go in heat race number 4. Remember, heat 5 is still coming up after this one, set to start around 10:05. We'll see what time that race actually gets underway as we approach 10 o'clock on the East Coast. Anthony Trippi has led a number of laps so far in this heat race. Looks pretty calm up at the front of the field. Let's see if he can maintain once again as we head into the SimWrap Market restart zone. Green flag going to go back in the air, and off the field goes towards turn 1. But I'll tell you what, Alex Coffey matched him punch for punch in the restart box. The problem is his help did not. A good start for the 54, not a good start for anyone behind him.
And that side draft Coffey was using was helping slowing everything up, but he's got no help. Wyatt Gray jumps up to the high side, and Coffey's going to be able to move all the way up to the top spot, and he's going to be able to hang on to the lead as he left Jeff Byers by himself, but he's going to get some help. But Alex Coffey able to make that bottom line work, and Alex Coffey takes over the lead.
Yeah, I like to call Alex Coffey a restart artist. I get to watch him on Wednesday nights in the Moonshiners Racing League. He is so good at restarts and knowing exactly how to manipulate not only the restart zone to be able to punch the gas at the same time as the leader, but also how to manipulate the side trap to make sure he has the best chance of getting to the race lead. He did it right there. And so interesting to note for later in the week, a solo car can side draft the leader, get all the way to the lead, carry the momentum, and jump up in front of that line. That is going to be so interesting. Oh, but a miscalculation there as Coffee went to block the bottom. They did not have the run he thought they did, and he bails out of line. He'll now go to the help of Byers on the bottom after all. Top side is Trippy and Dahmer and Dahari. Then a gap back to Wyatt Gray, who's trying to side draft and also trying to pull along Chase Mistretta and Tater Seipel, who are in the center of the racetrack. Big block. That's Mistretta blocking Chapman into the wall. But all is good for now on that block. Keep in mind that, again, cause of caution penalties will be given out throughout this week. And by the way, something I did not mention under the cautions previously, the cause of caution penalties will carry over into the LCQs. The drivers who advance to the feature, that won't matter. But for Saturday's LCQs, those penalties carry over. Almost 4 wide. Great try for Dahari's right rear. Guest goes to the left side. We are going to go 4 wide. Dahmer and Guest both split in the middle. And both guys now have to hope for help from Mistretta. Dahmer's going to bail. That was smart. He'll jump behind Guest. Trippy down to block the middle and try to side draft as Coffee muscles back to the race lead. Trying to get outside. 4 wide again off 2.
And they're going to hold it this time too, as Coffee's going to sit there on the 3rd lane, and we got some more side drafting. I'm trying to see who that is. I believe that is Dom. I'm trying to see what number that is. That's a 36 of Garrett Tahiri left out the dry. Charlie Morgan gets up to him, and a huge run up down the 3rd line. Is there still 4 wide for 6th?
That's Chapman that's now going to be the odd man out in that exchange as he'll go towards the back. Thomas Bennett's going to let him in line. Blinking there is Carson Freeman. He gets it solved, though, in the trial. All is good for now. Somehow, Alex Coffey escapes that situation with the race lead ahead of Anthony Trippy. A couple power moves for Coffey on this run here with 14 laps to go, and he re-inherits the lead. Coffey, Trippy, Gray, Freeman, Dahari, top 5 against the wall. Charlie Morgan is 6. You're on board with him right now as he recovers all the way back inside the top 6 here down the Alabama Gang Super Stretch. Guest leads the middle. That's with Mistretta and Dahmer and a couple others in tow. Mistretta wanted 4 wide. It's not going to work as here go Gray and Freeman to the bottom. Coffey sees it coming, throws the block, and he'll get to Gray's front end easily here in turns 3 and 4. But Freeman and Gray both get going, and another car blinking. That's the 3rd of the front runners to blink. Morgan tried to jump out of line. He couldn't do it. Guest is going to pick him up. Cunningham tried to jump out of line. Dahmer will pick him up. DeFilippi tried to jump out of line. Byers picks him up. Guest second lane as he'll try it again, but the push goes with Morgan.
And Morgan's going to get the run. Gets left all high and dry. Tater's trying to get some help from Ryan Chapman. That's not going to work. We're still 4 wide in the middle of this pack right now. Guess has no help, but there goes Tater around. And there's at least a few other cars wrecking behind.
The caution's going to stay furled here. I think we're going to stay under the green flag with 13 to go. Tater Seipel has crashed against the inside wall, and now we'll need a caution to continue on with his run in the SummerSlam 499. There is one other car that got involved in this as well. I could not tell which car it was. It might have been the Steve Bocock machine, who's already gone to pit road. Off turn 4, we have to keep it up front. 12 to go with the line. Byers on the inside with help from Wyatt Hicks. Top side is Coffey with help from Wyatt Grays. The Wyatt show are the pushers. Morgan to the right rear. Freeman out back as Charlie Morgan makes another aggressive move. Trippy's going to go with Freeman. Dahari's going to go with Morgan. So a pair of cars outside now trying to get the top lane going. Coffey has to decide where to block. Byers, no man's land on the bottom. He's got no push for 2 car lanes. Coffey, that's a sweeping block off turn 2, and he'll maintain the lead as Gray and Freeman go backwards. Morgan to 2nd. Dahari to 3rd. Mistretta to 4th.
Mistretta again able to work his way through as he got now top 4 now all up front. The bottom lane is starting to get momentum as there goes Charlie Morgan down to the bottom. Coffey's going to go in side draft trying to be able to stop him. Gray further back is going to turn the 14 around. We're going to have a caution. 84 is around as well in front of the second half of the field, and I think everyone's going to avoid it. Oh my goodness, as Peyton Lindsay gets caught up in it as Matthew Taylor was trying to get around.
Peyton Holland's the other car involved in this one in the 18. Trippy, Dahmer, Gray, the cars involved in this caution as they all 3 go spinning here at the exit of the trial. Matthew Taylor goes through the grass as well in the 044. This one sparked up with Wyatt Gray as he got to the outside of the Holland machine there off turn 4. You kind of saw this one coming just a little bit with the way they were racing up front. Wyatt Gray had just gotten to the right rear there off turn 4, and they come together and spin into the outside wall, and this is a setback now for the PGR 500 champ, who is now outside looking in. Let's take a look back at what happened back around the Wyatt Gray machine. here in heat number 5. Gray into, excuse me, it was Dahmer, not Holland. Gray tries to make an aggressive move here up around the Dahmer machine. Dahmer through the block the first time. And as they come off turn 4 here, they almost meet in the middle. Dahmer's coming up just a little bit. Oh, man, that is about 4 feet of netcode between the two cars as well. So, again, I would say no harm, no foul. They would have probably made some contact eventually, but that's even a stretch. Those cars were way far apart when Gray got into Dahmer, and Trippy, unfortunately, is the bystander in that one. Nothing that he could really do.
No, and especially the netcode there, you could tell it real quick. It seemed like Wyatt was giving plenty enough room for that 4 wide because he was expecting it. But like you called it time and time again before in previous races that we've had, we've seen that netcode has, even in other races, have bit people easily, especially just, even if it seems like it's not close enough that you would think in real life, like these cars would not end up getting turned around and stuff. But with the way the coding and everything is with iRacing, there is still that potential that you can end up having a netcode like that and send someone around, which is really unfortunate. And it was a really bit trippy there as well.
So, number of cars coming to pit road to address damage. Thomas Bennett, Wyatt Gray, Kevin Cunningham, Peyton Holland, Anthony Trippy, Tater Seipel, who gets a nice lifeline there on this caution to get back into this race. Max DiFilippi, Matt Taylor, Zach Dahmer, Devin Lyons are all on pit road. Steve Bocock has returned to the racetrack, but he is already 1 lap down to the race leaders. Again, Sizemore retired back after the last caution in 28th. Everyone else still is on the lead lap as of right now and has an opportunity to race their way into the feature or the LCQs. Let's re-rack the field for you again here in heat race number 4 as we're inside of 10 laps to go. Alex Coffey continues to lead the way in the 15 on the timing and scoring, but the 54 on the side of that Toyota Camry. Charlie Morgan runs in the 2nd spot with Gabriel Dahari in 3rd. Jeff Byers in 4th. Wyatt Hicks in 5th with Chase Mastretta back in the 6th spot. Kevin Allen in 7th. Carson Freeman is 8th. Michael Guest is 9th. And Ryan Chapman is 10th with Scott Warren and Evan Schilling, the last 2 cars in transfer spots. Notably, cars outside looking in. We talked a little bit about Bennett. Thomas Bennett started in the 500 already in his career. Wyatt Grace, the defending PGR 500 champion, at risk of not advancing to the SummerSlam 499 or even to the LCQs here tonight in this one. Talked about Tater Seipel earlier. Again, the father of Nick Seipel in this field, trying to make his way in. He's 22nd. Anthony Trippy led laps earlier. He is 25th, still sitting on pit road addressing damage. Well, inside of 10 to go is about where the race last time around got really crazy in heat race number 3, but in heat race 4 it's been crazy for a while, and the moves have only gotten bigger up front. Again, power moves from a lot of the top 10 at this point. I mean, Alex Coffey, a couple right there. Charlie Morgan has been willing to throw the car across the racetrack. Dahari has been willing to try to get to right rear quarter panels, and you know, a number of these cars up front have been willing to make moves to keep themselves in that position. The car I'm watching on the restart here, not only is Michael Guest one of them, Carson Freeman certainly in that group, it's got to be the black, white, and red, number 8 for the Jack Shack of Chase Mastretta. And I would not be surprised here, Tyler, to see him opt to take the bottom and come up to the front of the field and try to make his way up. No, he's going to stay to the top. Byers, the only one to take the bottom, then Guest, then Chapman. So some cars further back are going to take the risk of the bottom, but I thought for sure there that Mastretta would come up and try to make the most of it up front.
I think Mastretta's waiting for a last closer to a last lap caution, because I have a feeling that Chase is going to see about taking that bottom lane when we come to like a last minute green white checkered. I think what Mastretta's doing right now is staying with the preferred groove, getting that good restart, and then just jumping around as much as he can. He's going to have some opportunities to work with Michael Guest and Charlie Morgan, so he'll be able to work his way around the field. So it's just now it's going to be, he's got to just set his sights on where he wants to get, and especially making the right moves at the right time to get himself up front and potentially winning a heat.
So again, it's the 4th caution of the night. Again, Heat 5 was supposed to start in 2 minutes, so we'll have to see how that all works out here once Heat 4 gets completed. But again, Alex Coffey continues to lead the way in the 54 machine. It should be noted he's got some help in this race. I wondered where exactly he was going to look for some help. In February, he had a couple of his normal Wednesday night teammates with the Precision Speed Solutions group and Dig Esports with him in the PGR 500 attempt process. Tonight, he's running with the Jack Shack group. So Alex Coffey's got some help on the racetrack as well in his rearview mirror. Some friendly faces in his rearview mirror here for this restart, which changes the game and changes your mentality completely for Coffey. You're safe to go make moves. You know you've got cars behind you that will at least attempt to cover your move, attempt to help you out when they can, and getting down to the end of this, that will be invaluable, as we saw last night. Coffey and Byers will lead the field into the restart zone. The Simrat Market restart zone for the 4th time as we are inside of 10 to go. Crunch time is now. If you want to get in, you better get in a spot to do it. Green flag back in the air, and Coffey's off to the races. What a start for Charlie Morgan behind him. It's almost like you could see the hand out the window net from Coffey. Top 2 on the bottom got connected pretty well, and they'll actually get a nice run up the hill here. Byers, Guest, Chapman, the bottom lane trying to pull even here.
You can see, and there's some more momentum going as 76. Scott Warren jumps up to the middle, but he's got no help. Thomas Bennett's going to try to get to him, but it's only going to be a 2-man line here in the middle. But already a decent amount of momentum there for Alex Coffey and Charlie Morgan continuing the push as 78 there gets a little bit of loose. That's Wyatt Hicks. But Michael Guest giving a great push there to Jeff Byers, and Jeff Byers right now is in front of Coffey leading this race.
Well, notably, Coffey not coming down to sidetrack with the top lane there, and that's allowed the bottom to basically uninhibited run up right to the front. Byers to the race lead, top lane rebounds. Here's the push from Dahari to Morgan to Coffey as they work back to the banking of turn 1. Big block out back. That was Gray on Freeman as he tries to get back into a transfer spot. Again, they will not side draft here in 1. Top 2 come clear. Michael Guest to clean air for the first time. The pole sitter for last year's SummerSlam 499 goes to the point as Morgan has to bail to the middle around Alex Coffey, who's going backwards. Bottom lane is on the move. Byers, Chapman, a couple of other cars in line down there as well. Schilling makes his first appearance at the front. That's Evan Schilling, Trace Paderni, Robbie Mitchell all coming through on the bottom. Here comes the middle's rebound once again. Dahari got split out of line. Now Coffey's going to get split out of line. Charlie Morgan is ruthless in this race, getting to right rear quarter panels, and he'll push Guest 4 wide out back. Wyatt Gray, the aggressive move. Desperation time for the 500 winner as he looks around the Dahari machine now.
And Wyatt right now still sitting on the outside looking in. He's right there fighting for that transfer position. And look who's right next to him. Chase Mastretta as well, as Wyatt's looking to go 4 wide again, but he second guesses it as now the bottom lane is stacking up. Going to be having some checkup here as Charlie Morgan's going to start having a run. We are 4 wide for the transfer spot for the LCQ now.
Oh man, Michael Guest got split in that. A miscalculation from the 8 of Michael Guest as he's going backwards all of a sudden as Dahari and Gray make the split. Up front, Ryan Chapman goes all the way to the lead. Morgan gets to his right rear quarter panel. Coffey through the center. Alex Coffey with a run out of nowhere. 3 wide for the lead. Chapman to the help of Byers. Morgan to the help of the Warren machine as Dahari looks 4 wide around all of them. 4 wide for the race lead for a moment as Morgan staggers 4 wide and Warren gets the push from Guest. Can you believe this? 2 rows of 4 wide racing for the race lead. Chapman on the bottom is going to benefit from all of it. Morgan trying to reel with Dahari and Gray. Warren 3rd lane. Coffey says, what just happened in the 2nd lane?
And Michael Guest had to check up a little bit. Chapman moves up. Chapman's going to block Guest, but it's still going to be all over the place. Charlie Morgan still leads. Middle lane starting to get some momentum as Morgan goes all the way down to the bottom line. Chapman gets a huge push as there
it is. Thomas Bennett gets turned. Chase Mastretta's around as well. And the crash erupts with 5 to go that will send us likely into overtime. I think Dahmer's involved in this. Wyatt Hicks is in this as well. And the way they were racing, you just knew that was going to happen.
And Schilling's going right into pit road 2, has the meatball flag. That motor is expired. I think he still has a fast repair as he is hauling into his pit box so that he can get the fast repair done. But man, what an impact too for Schilling, because that was a rough hit.
So take a breath here before we get into what should be the final restart of the night. But some incredible racing before that. The best 3 or 4 laps we've seen of racing on this setup all week so far. But eventually this was going to happen, and it's Thomas Bennett that gets turned On the bumper of Alex Coffey, you wonder if it was a stack up. It does look like that's the case. As Guest tried to square up Chapman, everybody gets kind of offset, and Alex Coffey's getting pushed 2-3 cars deep in line there. I mean, they were 6 cars deep pushing the middle lane, and they got offset with Bennett, and Coffey tried to jump in the binders, but he's getting pushed by Mistretta. Mistretta's getting pushed by Hicks, and they all kind of accordion forward through Coffey, through Bennett, and it's on from there. Big hit for Schilling to the inside wall. Hicks and Mistretta spin down. Bennett spin down. I'll tell you, Mistretta's going to get Schilling here, so I'm curious what kind of damage there is on the number 8 of Chase Mistretta. But for Bennett and Hicks and Dahmer, this appears to just be a spin. To me, it looks like not much damage on any of those race cars, just a slide on the apron.
I'm looking on Mistretta's front nose, and that front nose is caved in significantly. He's got a lot of damage on that right front as well. So we'll see what Chase decides to do here, but he is not going to be able to do a lot of pushing. And if he's wanting to try to be able to save any kind of temps, that's going to be another tough one for him. So he is going to be on the outside looking in big time for especially one of the guys that's a lot of people would have as one of the potential favorites of making it into the feature and potentially winning it.
So as the field gets back to the start-finish line, and we start lap 33, we are, in fact, going to go to the overtime attempt right here. And do see some questions about the overtime format. We'll answer those for you now that it's official that we're going to use the one green-white checkered attempt. There is only one overtime attempt in the heat races. All 3 heats have needed it. This 4th one will as well. There will not be a caution thrown on this overtime attempt. No matter what happens, this race is going to finish under the green flag. Any incidents that happen on this final restart will be reviewed post-race by race control. Any decisions that need to be made will be made immediately after the race. And of course, we will find out the official results as soon as we possibly can. The choose cone will still be used. You can still choose here just as you would, but of course this is the final restart, so choose wisely would be my advice to these drivers. Again, we've seen it work on the last restart. We've also seen it not work. And my mind goes to Axel Smith and Michael Triscaro, who both took the bottom lane last night in Heat 1 and failed to make the race. They dropped back on the restart. Things got crazy. There was a crash on the last lap, and they were in the wrong spot at the wrong time, and that decision all of a sudden turned into elimination. So, on one hand, in the case of guys like Jack Mace, it can work. On the other hand, in the case of many others, it does not. So choose wisely on this restart. How much do you value the track position? Let's re-rack the field as we get ready to go green for the final time. Ryan Chapman is your race leader as he gets all the way back to the lead. And that crazy scramble up front for a moment there, which saw about 8 different leaders in a lap and a half, which has got to be some kind of record here in PGR. Charlie Morgan is second with Michael Guest in the 3rd spot. Jeff Byers is 4th with Gabriel Dahari somehow getting back to the 5th position. Scott Warren is 6th, Trace Paderni is 7th, and Alex Coffey runs in 8th with Thomas Bennett 9th and Robbie Mitchell in 10th. Wyatt Gray is back in a transfer spot in 11th. Keith Prince occupies the final transfer spot in 12th. For now, pre-choose cone. Carson Freeman, as of now, is listed as out. He started up at the front of the field for this one. Tater Seipel listed as out. Matthew Taylor listed as out. Anthony Trippi also outside looking in. Zach Dahmer, Devin Lyons, Jacob Nichols, Chase Mistretta, amongst others. Of course, the 2 cars that have retired, Steve Bocock and Steve Sizemore from this race. Or rather, I think Bocock may still be running. No, he is not. He is retired as of lap 27. So he is behind the wall. So is Sizemore. Everyone else is on the lead lap. 26 cars, 12 available spots. And it all comes down to this. The cars that took the bottom. Byers, so Jeff Byers, Scott Warren, Trace Paderni, and then Alex Coffey. And I'll tell you from 8th position, I'm the slightest bit surprised that Alex Coffey, Paderni, Warren, I'm a little surprised those guys jumped to the bottom. They split pretty evenly amongst those 8 cars. And now the bottom lane's got to get going here if those guys want a shot to make it when they get back to the checkered flag.
Yeah, and we'll see how this plays out because right now this is going to be go time for that bottom lane. They got to have a really good start here. If they can get that run, it's going to be a huge make or break for them. So we'll see how this plays out, and we never know what to expect because a lot can happen here.
We're getting a look at one of the drivers you're going to see in the next heat race, Trevor Osronoff, the team owner for the Jack Shack, as he toasts a pre-race beverage before he gets going in heat race number 5. You'll see him in just a moment. Watching some of his team cars here in this heat race. It's a long shot, certainly, here for the Chase Mastretta machine for Carson Freeman. We'll wait and see from 16th. He's a lot closer to those transfer spots. We'll see if either of those cars can advance into the races on Saturday or Sunday on this last restart. We'll go green one more time at Talladega in Heat 4. It is overtime. There are no more cautions. It's all to race for right here. Ryan Chapman and Jeff Byers have been underdog stories of the week so far in this race, as has Charlie Morgan in the 3rd spot. And really, so has Scott Warren in the 4th spot. Can they complete the underdog victory, or one of the favorites upset them here and steal it away in the final moments? One more restart. Green, white checkered from Talladega in Heat 4. Green flag contact in the restart box. Byers got to Chapman early. They somehow all keep it straight, and both lines are 4 deep pushing. They're going to have 7 cars up top. The bottom 6. Coffey gets split. Bennett to the bottom. Coffey to the center. Does anybody go with him? He's actually going to get lucky. Morgan ends up in the center. DeFilippi ends up in the center. And Coffey has a lifeline as Byers goes to the leadoff too.
Chapman's getting a huge punch from Michael Guess as well. They only got 3 cars right now. Going to start getting some more. White Gray's going to catch up, but it's 5-on-4 right now for the bottom lane having the advantage. But the cars are starting to get some momentum as they're going to try to start side drafting here as we're going to get ready to come off of 3 and 4 and come into the white flag.
Look at the run that Wyatt Gray has in the middle on the back of Chapman. Chapman didn't fully throw that block, so they have to lift just a little bit to reset that push. Off turn 4, here's Byers and Warren and the rest of the field. They'll rumble through the triangle. White flag is up. 1 lap to go in heat race number 4.
And this is getting really intense. It's a big run. It's Guess. Oh my goodness. They're wrecking further behind. Huge wreck. Huge wreck. Guess involved. A few others involved as well. Don't know who made it through, but a huge wreck right now. Gonna keep an eye on this front row. It's right now Chapman has still got some help from Wyatt Gray. It is now a 2-on-3 as Chapman's trying to get momentum. Wyatt Gray's gonna be right behind him with a huge push.
Trouble!
No.
Chapman gets turned by Wyatt Gray off the end of the back straightaway. Paderni's involved as well. We'll have to wait and see in the post race. Meanwhile, we're going to race it back anyway. Warren throws the block on Gray. Byers off turn 4. Matt Taylor through the center. Can he make it stick? Not quite. Through the triangle for the final time in Heat 4. The underdog of the week, Scott Warren, wins Heat number 4.
Wow. And further back, guess who made it through? Chase Mastretta made it to 10th place. Peyton Holland right now is also made it in. This is going to be a wild result finish.
Well, give it a minute. Obviously, Scott Warren, you got to imagine the win is official, and a heck of a drive at that for Scott Warren. Again, this tends to happen every year in these marquee events. You get at least one upset winner. Yeah, I think of Jacob Dunn back in February in the PGR 500 as a guy we just did not have circled to get a victory in one of these heat races that ends up finding a way to victory lane and, surprises all of us and kind of puts his name on the radar. And for, February it was done. For this race now, it's Scott Warren in the 76 as he made the perfect moves there to make this race winning move. We'll wait for official results for the transfer spots out back. But the win is official, and we're going to get a very raw post-race interview here in this quick turnaround. Our winner, Scott Warren. Scott, take me through it. The emotions going through your head right now. You're a heat race winner in the SummerSlam 499.
Guys, I got to tell you, are you not entertained? That race was insane. That was a lot of fun. Been racing with a lot of these guys for a lot of years, but I don't do it at the level that they do as often as they do. So, man, I got to tell you, it was a lot of fun to come out here on a Thursday night representing my dealership, Audi Windsor, representing my family, Carrie, Landon, Bennett, my dad, my brother, who are probably watching. Man, what a cool thing to come out here, represent PGR and represent the iRacing community of guys that are about 2 months away from being 50 years old.
Well, look, obviously a heat race win is a great way to spark some momentum. But, I mean, to race against some of the guys you got to race against elbow to elbow. I mean, Wyatt Gray was up in the mix late. Talking about guys in this field, Alex Coffey, Chase Mastretta, Charlie Morgan we've seen a lot of, Michael Guest. I mean, some of the best in this field. To go out and not only race against them and stay on par, but to come across the line in front of them. I mean, we're talking about guys that have won race after race on the super speedway scene. Kind of what does this do for your confidence going forward to the rest of the week?
Well, it can't do anything but give me confidence, right? That's kind of the way this works, and I love seeing these new young guys coming up. And I grew up with Rod Car series and the OP series, and a lot of the OG series, and guys that are running now in Eco series. A lot of my good buddies that I used to race with are up there now. So, yeah, I guess I'm not overwhelmed by the moment. Some of the racing in the middle of this race was absolutely unbelievable. Brought me back to the old Rod Car days, and gosh, I got to tell you guys, heck of a broadcast. Watched it last night. Just, I'm having a good time. How could you not be?
Well, Scott, now the transition to Sunday, obviously now you got to transition from going 35 laps to game planning to go 188, 499 miles after the racing we saw tonight. What notes are you taking with you? What's the game plan for Sunday to make it one win better and raise a championship belt?
I don't know. Let's not get out of control here. We still got guys like Malik, who's a two-time defending champion. But I got to say, maybe there's something in the stars here. We got a 499er, and I'm 49. So, I don't know. You never know.
Well, it's a heat race win for you tonight. That we do know for sure, and it's a big win to start your week. So before we let you go and get prepped for Saturday night's pole shootout and also Sunday's SummerSlam 499, who else would you like to thank or shout out?
Man, I got to thank everybody that tunes in with me. I'm running now these days in a couple of leagues in the OP series. Anthony and the whole squad over there, they do a great job. All my OGs that I'm sure some of whom are watching, and if they aren't, shout out to Travis and the boys. Shout out to Mark Jorgensen and the boys, Rod, wherever you are. And but most of all, man, I have to thank my family. I have to thank my wife, my partner Carrie, my boys Bennett and Landon for putting up with the time when Dad heads out to the studio and he checks into the triple screens and checks out for a couple hours. But yeah, I can't wait. I'm looking forward to it. Let's have some fun.
And what a fun night it was here in Heat 4. Scott, congratulations on the Heat win. Thanks for your time, for talking to us here for a few minutes. Go enjoy it. Go celebrate. We'll talk to you Saturday night for the pole shootout and Sunday for 499 miles.
10-4. Let's do it again.
Scott Warren, the winner of Heat Race number 4, and excited, but at the same time still, confident and able to crack some jokes there, and I love that for Scott Warren. What a huge win, by the way, for him. You see the results on your screen, but they're not official, and here's why. We've just gotten the word from Race Control, and it's a bombshell, ladies and gentlemen. The run to sweep the events is over. Wyatt Gray, the defending PGR 500 winner, has been disqualified at the end of this race for causing the last lap incident in the trial. His third place finish will be nullified as such. 13th place finisher Alex Coffey is in. He'll now finish officially 12th. Everyone else moves up one spot in the finishing order. So here are the drivers advancing before we quickly transition to heat race number 5. Scott Warren's win is official. Matt Taylor's second place is official. They'll both race both Saturday night in the pole shootout and Sunday in the feature. Jeff Byers moves into the final feature transfer spot with a third place finish now officially. First driver in the LCQ is Max DeFilippi. Wyatt Hicks. Anthony Trippi is in with a 6th place finish. Thomas Bennett officially finishes 7th. Tater Seipel finishes 8th. He's in as well. Chase Mastretta finishes 9th. He was 26th on the last restart and gets in. Peyton Holland 10th. Zach Dahmer 11th. And Alex Coffey 12th. Those are the 12 advancing forward with a penalty at the end of this race to Wyatt Gray.
What a finish. And then you're going to have Peyton Holland there in 11th. Zach Domer, the last person to make it in 12th. Alex Coffey in 13th. Carson Freeman is going to be in 14th. And Alex Coffey will be the last one to make it in. Robbie Mitchell in 15th. Charlie Morgan in 16th. Keith Prince in 17th. Trace Pineri in 18th. Ryan Chapman getting caught up in that last incident in 19th. And Devin Lyons rounding out your top 20.
And the rest of the field here, Gabriel Dahari, Kevin Allen are both out by virtue of their finishes. So is Michael Guest, the pole sitter for last year's SummerSlam 499, eliminated tonight by virtue of his crash on the last lap. Kevin Cunningham, Jacob Nichols, Evan Schilling, Steve Bocock, Steve Sizemore. The cars eliminated, of course, along with Wyatt Gray. So those are the cars out. and the guys in a huge win for Scott Warren here in Heat 4, the first upset winner of the week. And it's time now to transition extremely quickly to Heat 5. It'll be a very short break. We'll be right back after this with the conclusion of Night 2 and the race of Heat 5 of the 3rd Annual SummerSlam 499. Stay with us on PGR Esports. We'll be right back from Talladega. A crazy night 2 of the SummerSlam 499 wraps up with heat race number 5 from Talladega Super Speedway in what has been a night that has continued to run longer and longer as we go. We finally have reached the final heat race of the night. Before we get going, very quickly, want to thank our heat sponsors, Way Too Easy Movers, the Jack Shack, VRX Simulators, and John Hudson Art for their support of heat race number 5 of the SummerSlam 499. But without further ado, we got to get down trackside because it's time to go racing on a quick turnaround. On the pole for Heat 5, the 2025 PGR 500 champion and PGR Series champion and driver in the Coca-Cola iRacing Series, the number 55 Super.com Ford Mustang, Daniel Falkingham will start from pole position of this fifth and final heat race here of night 2, third race we have of this second night. Alongside him, the McCullough Motorsports entry, the 02 of Richard Elliott, will start from position number 2. Back on row number 2, it's going to be the bright black, gray, and number 1, or bright black, gray, and yellow number 1 of Cameron Craighead. He carries Way Too Easy Movers and Race Lab. He'll race under the Nightmare banner tonight. Cameron Craighead starts from 3rd alongside the Jack Shack's Evan Carlbon, the normal red, gray, and black aboard his number 78 tonight. Row 3 is going to feature Landon Velicki, another one of the Jack Shack entries in car number 62, alongside the driver carrying Simrat Market, VRX, and the banner for Team PGR. It's Brian Hennings that will start from the outside of row 3 in 6th. Row 4, the 33 of Jackson Buys. Remember his run back in February in the PGR 500. In the 33, he'll start from 7th, alongside the team owner for the Jack Shack, the newly rebranded red and neon yellow 89. That's Trevor Osbornoff in 8th. And back on row 5 and wrapping up the top 10, Michael Barksdale will start from position number 9, alongside making his return to PGR, the 91 this time around, of Kevin Champagne.
Yep, and then in row number 6 is going to be a returning PGR member trying to make it into SummerSlam 499 again is Hunter Hastings. Alongside with him, a newcomer of Dmitry Isanev, going to be in 2nd. Row number 7 is going to be Trey White in the 23 car, and then alongside of him is going to be Peter Simontana, a driver who did really well in the ERA competition earlier this year. Row number 8 is going to be the number 3 of John Hudson, and alongside with him is going to be Tony Meyering in that number 23 car in 16th. Row number 9 is going to be Howard Strother Jr. in 17th in that 86 Maconi setup shop car, and alongside of him is going to be the number 33 of Jacob Dunn. And then rounding out row number 10 is going to be Terry Wilson and the number 35 of Mason Only.
Promise I did not intentionally mention Jacob Dunn, knowing he was going to be in this heat race. It was completely ironic. But nonetheless, back on row 11, Jimmy Jason will start from 21st in that bright white monster 48. Alongside him, Austin Petrie Adger will start from position number 22. Back on row 12 as the field gets rolling behind the pace car, Joey Galati will start from position 23, black and red familiar aboard that 661. Alongside him, it'll be Corey Taylor in the 24th starting spot. And on row number 13, it's going to be Thomas Komacheski in the 69, black and orange aboard that number 69 TWRS, Team Watson Racing Setups machine. And alongside him, Mauricio Marquez Ramos in the 96 makes his PGR return. He'll start 26th tonight. Row 14, Austin Mice, carrying the number 97 aboard his car, will start from 27th. Harold Rothery is scheduled to start alongside him. He's currently scored a little bit higher than that in 28th. And further back on the field, a couple of more cars I think have made the grid. John Ward, the captain for Dega Pros in the 92, the same colors he ran last year in this race. And alongside him, it is not going to be Jack Mummert. He continues to sit on pit road as a spectator. Brock Westmoreland, the last car I have listed on the grid that will make a start in this heat. Of course, we saw James Waring last night in heat race number 1. So 30 cars slated to make a start here in heat race number 5. It's our first full field of the night. The other two have had a couple of cars not make their heat race as scheduled. As we get ready to go, Tyler, this is one of the more star-studded fields that we've seen. I know I said that about the last heat. This one, though, has a number of drivers that we have been looking forward to seeing their runs in this race.
Yeah, especially with the likes of Falkingham, Carlbon, Landon Velicki, especially with Carlbon and Velicki being part of the Jack Shack. And then we got with Bias, Ozernoff, Kevin Champagne. The list goes on and on. Simontana. So I'm looking forward to seeing how this goes. And especially with I'm curious on how some other drivers are going to be, especially with John Ward trying to be able to play Kenny McAuliffe route, but the opposite direction, and just being able to, and with John Ward going to be trying to mind his P's and Q's in back and try to avoid all the wrecks from what he's seen in the past.
Well, these drivers have had to wait an extra 30 minutes from the other two heats. So remind you, top 3 to the feature and the top 24 shootout race, 4th through 12th to the LCQs. Everyone else, their journey ends tonight. 3rd and final heat race of the night, 5th heat overall. Heat 5 of the SummerSlam 499 is underway. Green flag from Talladega. Down the back straightaway for the first time and into turn 3. It took a moment for the Daniel Falkingham machine to get going in this race, but he gets right back to the lead on the push from Cameron Craighead, Landon Veliky, and Jackson Byes. Out back the moving starts around Peter Smetana. That was where the 3 wide started early in this race. Look at the tandem pushes up front for the top 4 back to Jackson Byes as he tried for a moment potentially to get around Veliky. Already some thoughts of haymakers. Carl Bond to the inside. Henning's going to choose to stay up behind Jackson Byes, but expect the red 89 to jump down and pick up his team car. Will Osronoff make the move down to Carl Bond here? No, Carl Bond going to be the only car down there here in turn 1. No one's been able to get a run to him yet.
No, and there's a huge run on the bottom there. Hunter Hastings, and I believe that is going to be Michael Barksdale getting a massive run as there goes Carl Bond having to jump to the bottom. Huge little bump there as there goes the 3, and Barksdale's going up the block. Actually, Carl Bond goes up the block and tries to get the run on in the middle groove. As here we go, some more shaking up now as the 33 comes down to the bottom, and here goes Cameron Craighead down, and everyone's going to start filing down to the middle lane.
And this was why we anticipated this heat race, because this is some of the bigger names in the event that know how to throw the haymakers. It's to the inside for the race lead. Jackson Byes in the 33 to the line. He'll lead the lap there. Lap 2 goes to the black, gold, and white Victory Racing number 33. Carl Bond throws a left elbow down underneath Byes, 3 wide for the lead. Elliott stays middle with Byes. Topside Falkingham, Craighead, and Veliky. Barksdale's the help for Carl Bond. 3 wide for the race lead. It's all the way through the heat field here down the Alabama gang. Super stretch. The run goes to Byes in the center. Falkingham reeling just a bit as Craighead starts to get hot. Poking the nose out. That's the black and pink Toyota of Trey Whitehead. He started the PGR 500 back in February. He's back again in August, and he's trying to poke a nose forward to the lead. John Hudson forward. Another 23 on the inside. That's Tony Meyering. Cars coming to the front. Thomas Kolmacheski makes an appearance. He's got Carl Bond with him. Middle, Elliott, Hudson, Smetana, and Osrop topside. Byes, Falkingham, Craighead, and Veliky give another lap to Jackson Byes.
Yeah, Jackson Byes is just controlling this field while Falkingham stays right behind. Going to try to keep his temps as much as possible. Trey Whitehead moves up to the middle lane while Tony Meyering is going to control the bottom, but we are 3 by 3 by 3 right now, and these guys are already trying to decide what lanes to move. We're going to see people jumping around whenever they see an open opportunity as the bottom lane starts to struggle again with Trey Whitehead controlling the middle lane as there goes the 3 of John Hudson down to the bottom to try to get the bottom lane moving again, as Tony Meyering is going to try to get to the back bumper of John Hudson and is not able to make the momentum as it's kind of stabled out right now with that top lane still controlling the field.
So far, so good up front. A little bit of room being given here. Already a few haymaker punches thrown, but nothing too crazy at this point in the race as lap 5 goes on the board. Elliott middle to bottom. He'll go to the push of Hudson. Whitehead now left. Really trouble in the back. A couple of cars go around. This might draw the first caution of the night. It may not, though. At the back of the field, it was a couple of cars that got around. Jimmy Jason is in it. Terry Wilson is in it as well. Brock Westmoreland got slowed up, but we're going to keep it up front and keep the race green. It continues to be Trey Whitehead in the center and Jackson Byes on the top side battling for the race lead. Who makes the first move to the bottom? Nobody yet. Everything's still chalk, top and middle as they work back to turn 3. Now Whitehead turns down the hill. Smetana will go with him. Osbornoff, an awkward spot there in the center lane as he loses a lot of his momentum. Up to the top, out of the top goes Richard Elliott on Cameron Craighead. How did he make that stick? These McCullough Motorsports cars are showing out tonight.
Yeah, and they're showing out, and I think we got that rivalry getting ready to fire up again with Richard Elliott and Cameron Craighead, because I think they still have some harsh words with each other, but I could be wrong. I know there has been some heated arguments over the years with them two, so that's going to be in Craighead's back of the mind for him for a bit, because, man, that was a very aggressive and late move as Richard Elliott gives Falkingham a huge shove, and all three of them now are up front in front of the bottom and middle lanes right now, and it's a big enough gap, too, where Falkingham can set something up.
And this has been kind of coordinated by Falkingham and Bias early in this race to leave a gap between those two cars and keep Falkingham's engine temperatures down enough where he can go right back to the push. And they're side drafting effectively enough that they can keep themselves up front. It's really, really good racecraft so far from those two at the front. It's why they have won so much in their careers. Of course, Bias a multi-time PGR winner, Falkingham a PGR 500 champion amongst multiple other PGR accolades in his career that has become very much decorated. He'll block Elliott.
Man.
That was a big one on Elliott there off turn 2. You got to worry about the damage on the 0-2, but it appears he's okay. And down the backstretch, that's going to benefit the bottom. Smetana the lead. Hudson tried to throw his nose out. Bias gets a little bit loose. And again, we get away with a haymaker into 3 as Smetana leads the field. Back up the banking. Hudson will put his name in the ring for the first time on the push of Trey Whitehead, but it's all Peter Smetana on the bottom. Tyler, you talked about him in the grid, and he throws his nose up to the lead. He's getting defensed by Jackson Bias. He went back down too far, trying to readjust as he went too far on the initial move. 4 wide out back. Here comes Craighead.
And things are getting wild. Craighead shoving Bias, Falkingham all over the place. Everyone's trying to hang on to it. This is getting wild.
They're not going to. One car around. Couldn't tell who it was. There was one car sideways. He goes down to the apron. I would not be surprised if this draws the caution, but it doesn't. It's Howard Strother, and this fractures the field. Ward out of the draft. Mice out of the draft. Petri Adger out of the draft. Marquez Ramos, Olney, Taylor, amongst others. Hastings as well, all out of the draft now back to turn 3.
Yeah, and that was wild. The 86 there getting sideways. Thrower Jr., what a save for him. But, man, that cost a lot of drivers. That knocked it down to about, let's see, 18 cars left in this field as they're going around Terry Wilson now, who's going to fall a lap down. But they are still going at it as we got 4 wide with Carlbaugh way up on the top side.
Yeah, Carlbaugh following in his Jack Shack teammates' footsteps, making a 4-wide move here on the entrance of turn 1 as he's trying to get the help of Brian Hennings. Up front, Falkingham and Bias have found each other again. It's simplification here off turn 2 for those two cars. Centerly trying to work Smetana, and Osbornoth got together with Veliky. They tried to get that run going through the center, but Osbornoth will get bailed on here by the Bias machine, or by the Smetana machine, rather, through the middle. Falkingham and Bias block up to the wall. Falkingham down a little bit. This is not only to side draft, but to allow Bias to get some air, and that also pulls the center line along. Here come the Jack Shack teammates. Osbornoth, Veliky through the middle. Smetana top side reeling with Elliott and Hennings and Carlbaugh. Bottom side is Meyering, Kolmacheski and others. Big block. Trevor Osbornoth throws his nose in clean air. Now he's third back to turn 1.
Trevor Osbornoth with the big move there, and he's going to be pushing, man, shoves into Jackson Bias, and man, they are doing everything. 62 is struggling there for Landon Veliky, is struggling there as Dimitri is right on this back bumper. They're still 3x3, but right now Dimitri is finally getting on the back bumper as Craighead is being able to push Dimitri into Landon Veliky, but it's still not of a big enough run as Falkingham starts to straddle the middle lane again to give Jackson Bice that clean air as these guys are really going at it. As Craighead gets a huge run from Tony Meyering, and they are going to take over the lead as they're going to be 3 wide, 4 wide where Trevor Osbornoth's at.
Oh, and that was close. Bias and Osbornoth right there. They made a little bit of short track contact there off turn 4, and Osbornoth gets spit out of line in the process. He's going backwards. Meyering benefits the most. He's going to lead on the push from Kolmacheski. Osbornoth forced his way back in line in front of Richard Elliott. Everybody somehow gets away with it. John Hudson sideways in front of Evan Carlbaugh. He makes the save again here off turn 2. Falkingham up the hill. Craighead up the hill. Veliky's in the center. He's had nowhere that he can really go except the middle. As out back, Osbornoth is trying to throw it on the right side door of Smetana. I'll tell you what, Meyering's loving this. Tony Meyering just drove all the way to the lead, and he really only had to hold his line and hold a pretty wheel on the push. But here comes the rebound. Craighead to the outside. Falkingham by Smetana. Veliky pokes his nose through, and now Landon Veliky has an opportunity to make a move, but Smetana moves him to the fence. So Peter Smetana holding his ground, not giving in to the teammate cars behind him.
Nope, as we're starting to get some single file action here too. I started to notice some other drivers that are sitting there. Oh man, there's a stack up. Oh, there we go. 24 is getting sideways. They are able to hang on to it, but Dimitri's able to hang on to it, so that's going to be another 2 more cars out of it. But man, it just stacks everything up, and I think right now Kevin Champagne's going to be the first one falling out of it now. Trey Whitehead is trying to hang on to this lead draft, and as of right now, 15 cars on the lead pack as John Hudson tried to get up to the top lane, and it was not able to work out. But as of right now, it seems like 15 cars are able to hang on to this as Kevin Champagne now has fallen off this lead pack.
A really tough break for the Hastings, Ward, Rothery, and Mice group that had started to catch the lead pack in that second group. They now are losing time. They will pick up, I thought they were going to pick up the Champagne car. They're not. They're going to drive right on past him. But he might pick up the end of this group. They're going to have to rebound and try to make that ground all back up under the green flag. You mentioned Inisiv, Galati, Taylor have all lost the draft. Olney, Marquez Ramos, Petriadger, Strother, Westmoreland, Jimmy Jason have all lost the draft, as has Terry Wilson. And that leaves just what I'm seeing to be about 15 cars, you mentioned it, Tyler, in this lead pack for 12 spots. So only 3 cars out of this pack would not make the race if this race were to finish under green, but it's not going to.
Goodness.
Hudson into Barksdale, the big one in turn 4, and it's going to involve a lot of them in this lead pack. Jacob Dunn, Landon Velicki, Trevor Osronaut, Michael Barksdale, Peter Smetana, I think, might have gotten a piece of this, and now here comes the second pack into it.
Yeah, but the second pack's trying to make avoiding action. Oh my goodness, people are still trying to avoid as Richard Elliott is kind of stuck there on the apron, and he's able to get out of it. But man, that could have been, oh man, that could have been disastrous for a lot more drivers.
The briefest moment, it felt like we were going to maybe have a heat run all the way out under green as that pack had split apart from the rest of the field. But as they came together in turn 3, it looked like John Hudson got down the racetrack just a little bit, and when it collected several of the lead pack, it collected them in a big way. Buys, Osronaut, Velicki all getting at least some piece of this and moving towards the back of the field. Here's a look at it. Watch Hudson. He's the black and gold car in the center lane, right above Michael Barksdale, the big red Chevrolet. And watch as Hudson comes down. And I wonder if he's reacting to Jackson Buys. You see Jackson Buys throw that car in line? Yeah, look at that. He is. So Buys comes down top to middle, and it kind of spooks John Hudson a little bit. He comes down off the middle trying to kind of set up for Buys to make that move, and just comes right down to the bottom lane and just nowhere for these guys to go. Carl Bond, Osronaut, and Velicki, that's all 3 Jack Shack cars in this lead pack are involved in this crash. Amongst others, they got involved in the back, and Richard Elliott, Trey Whitehead, all get involved. Jacob Dunn is in it as well in the black and blue 33. And this is half of that lead pack of 15 and several of the biggest names in this heat race that crashed together in turn 4.
Yeah, and Peterson and Tana getting the worst of it too, especially seeing that he's got a meatball flag. So that's all. I mean, there's his fast repair going to be needing to be used on that, and I'd be curious to see how many more drivers have to use their fast repairs because that was a vicious hit for a few drivers.
Yeah, big one there. You see Osronaut into the wall. Carl Bond turns, so Smetana is involved in that. I thought on my first look that he was, and he is in a minor way. So a couple of big hits for a couple of the Shack cars there. Osronaut and Velicki will await to see what those cars do on pit road under the first caution of this heat. So they're on pit road now fixing damage or taking the fast repair. We'll see what drivers opt to do in this situation. I'll tell you what that does for the second group and those cars that had lost the draft. As it is a race saver. John Ward, Harold Rothery, Austin Mice, Kevin Champagne, Dmitry Anisiv, Corey Taylor, Mauricio Marquez Ramos, Joey Galati, amongst some others, Hunter Hastings, Mason Olney, Jimmy Jason. I mean, there were about 13 cars that had somehow lost the draft in different incidents in that first run. Not only does that save them, it's also going to put some of them back into the top 10.
Yeah, because a lot of those top drivers that were up there in that top 12 that easily could have made it on through, all getting caught up and having significant damage. I mean, a lot of these drivers still sitting in their pit box going to repair the damage and stuff to save that fast repair, especially with we're not halfway, not at the halfway point yet, but knowing most of these drivers, especially the Jack Shack guys, know that sometimes having that extra fast repair might be a blessing in disguise, especially with the way things go So Carl Bond's still in the pits. Landon Velicky still in the pits getting damage. I mean, Jackson Byes, who he looks like he's almost got his damage fully repaired. So this is going to get really interesting for those guys, and they're going to be mired way back in the field as well.
So under the caution for the first time in heat race number 5 after some of the wildest racing we've seen so far this week in the opening laps of that heat race. You're on board with Trey Whitehead. Again, made a start back in February in the PGR 500 and led laps in that race in the 23. He's got new colors this time around. The vision is the same for him. Make the SummerSlam 499 and make his second career start in a marquee event for PGR eSports. So he runs 7th right now, well inside the transfer spots. Still a long ways to go, though, for him. Let's re-rack the field for you as we get ready to choose for the first time. Again, a reminder, if this is your first heat race of the week, the choose cone is in effect for this race and every race this week, including Sunday's feature. They will have until the start-finish line to declare their lane. The choose cone marker not being on the speedway in the virtual scan means we have to use an arbitrary marking. We're going to use the middle A in the word Talladega on the front stretch, the word marked A on Talladega there on the front straightaway line. It's actually a great view of the choose cone there as we get across the start-finish line. And you see drivers go one way or the other. They will choose their lane, much like the NASCAR Cup Series drivers do on Sunday afternoons. And the pattern this week so far has been to choose the outside lane and only choose the bottom if you need to gain track position. Although, bit of a difference here. Tony Meiring, the leader, for the first time is going to lead the field to green on a restart from the bottom lane as he opts to go in front of Kolmacheski.
Yeah, I'll be kind of interested here, and I'm wondering if maybe Tony and Thomas are potential teammates and stuff. So we'll see how this restart plays out. I mean, Craighead's going to have at least some help with Falkingham, and especially with that partial relationship there with Craighead and Falkingham, especially since they know each other through the PGR, a lot of the PGR races. So we'll see how that plays out. Would not be surprised if we see Falkingham start to go really aggressive to get up to the front and lead again. But how about this as well? I mean, John Ward up in 10th with being able to have the right moves as well. So we'll see how this plays out. And alongside with him, Kevin Champagne able to recover back up, and he's going to be starting in 9th after the choose as well. So we'll see how this all works out too. And Kevin Champagne's hoping to maybe have an opportunity to get himself up there and be able to have an opportunity to work with his EPI guys that have already made it into the LCQ or made it into the feature.
Kevin Champagne carrying EPI aboard his Ford Mustang this year. Remember, he ran the McDonald's colors last year in this race. But carrying EPI, a new look and a new number for him aboard that race car this time around. First caution cleaned off the speedway. For the first time, the field will work into the Simrat Market restart zone as we will get ready to go back under the green flag in heat race number 5. The longest opening green flag run I think that we've had all week, as we are now going to start lap 17, already halfway home in heat 5 after the first caution flag for these guys in this heat. The racing's not taking a hit though. It's been just as good as advertised so far in this one. Let's see if it continues to be that way. Green flag, Meiring off to the races on the bottom. The first time this week the bottom's gotten the jump because Meiring, as the control car, is able to launch in the restart zone. He will go into turn 1 as the leader, but the outside line is very much connected. Craighead, Falkingham, Hennings, Whitehead, Ward all connected. Meiring will throw the block, but I imagine Craighead's going to go a lane higher. Meiring doesn't block that, goes right back down to Kolmacheski. No surprise to me. I could tell coming from a mile away that Cameron Craighead was not going to be content to be the pusher.
And you knew that was going to happen too real quick, as Brian Hennings is right up on the back of Falkingham now. So we'll see how this plays out. As man, there goes the 23 of Trey Whitehead jumping up, and look who was right behind Whitehead, and it's going to be sitting here in the middle. And John Ward.
Trouble, Tyler. There's trouble in the back. There's cars around the back of the field, and this is going to draw the caution flag again. Only Velicky and maybe a couple of others. Jacob Dunn, I think, might be involved in this one too. In the 33, and the second caution is out. I barely caught the spin at the tail end of the lead lap there as the lead pack worked through turn 4, and another caution's out. It might involve Landon Velicky again as he's going to come get his spot back, but nonetheless for him, a tough start to the night made even tougher, and yeah, he is involved in car 62. There's actually a couple of more involved out back of this as well. Osbornoff may have gotten a piece of this in the 89, and a couple of other cars involved towards the tail end of the field also. So back around, really where all these Jack Shack cars were. In fact, You see there some contact as Olney gets turned. I think that was the Petrie Adger machine that worked up the racetrack into Olney and Veliky. And all three Jack Shack cars are involved in this one too. Osmernaut, Karlbahn, and Veliky all collect a piece of this one over in turn 4.
Yeah, it looks like maybe they might not have significant amount of damage too, but that incident though too with with Mason Olney, or I believe it was another vehicle. It seemed like one of the cars phased through Veliky too, as you can see there on the replay. Just Veliky spinning around after trying to hang on to it. So we'll see how this all plays out. And I know Veliky will probably end up pitting for tires, getting whatever kind of damage repairs, but for this heat race, Jack Shack's been struggling after that initial incident that happened early on in this race, and there's not many laps left to go either.
You're right, already past the halfway point. So for the Jack Shack cars, it's a pretty desperate situation at this point in time to get back into this race and get back into transfer positions, especially now after being involved in a couple of these opening caution flags. So second caution of the race is on the speedway as you ride on board under caution with the Evan Karlbahn machine. We'll reset the field for you once again. A couple of cautions in quick succession here. Cameron Craighead leads the race after taking the lead away from Meyering on that restart. Daniel Falkingham runs in the second spot. Tony Meyering runs in third after leading on that start. Thomas Kolmacheski hangs on to the top 5 in fourth. Brian Hennings for Team PGR continues to run fifth, looking to make another start in a marquee event. Michael Barksdale 6th, Trey Whitehead 7th, and John Ward 8th. Austin Mice 9th, Harold Rothery 10th, and Kevin Champagne and Joey Galati are the 2 cars still in those last 2 transfer spots. Under this, the second caution here of heat race number 5. Some drivers outside looking in. Richard Elliott is 14th. Peter Smetana is 16th. Hunter Hastings is 19th. Jackson Byes is 22nd. Howard Strother is 23rd. Jacob Dunn, who we talked about a little bit earlier, is 26th. And then, of course, the Karlbahn, Veliky, Osmernaut machines are 28th, 29th, and 30th. But I'll tell you this, Tyler, if any 3 cars on the racetrack were going to be as aggressive as ever and make their way back into this race, if they're able to find the right lanes and get runs at the right time, you know those 3 cars are not done making noise in this race yet.
Absolutely, and there was actually an incident there with Landon Veliky as Veliky was trying to get into his pit box, and I believe it was Jacob Dunn went to turn into his pit box, which was way before Veliky, and ended up making contact with Landon Veliky. So Veliky's getting a little bit of extra damage repaired, but those guys are still sitting in trying to get as much damage repairs as they can, as it looks like the cars are looking much better now. So all 3 of them are saving their fast repair for a really big incident near the end.
So getting ready to go back to the choose cone, as getting some confirmation on one of the names in the field. We'll see if I get that again here for one of the drivers towards the front of the field. So we will update that here in just one moment. Tony Mirroring as what we should be saying for the third place driver. Appreciate the clarification on that. Again, so many names this week, and names that we don't usually get to see from all corners of the iRacing service. So appreciate the clarification. Tony Mirroring runs in the 3rd position in the blue and white 23 machine, right in front of Thomas Kolmacheski. I think you hit the nail on the head earlier, Tyler, talking about those 2 cars really quickly before we choose. That those 2 cars are indeed working together under the Team Watson Racing Setups banner, and several guys from that team are also guys I get to watch, and they're actually helping out with that duo tonight. We'll see a couple of them later on in the week. A couple of the guys for the Beast Mode Performance team that run on Wednesday nights, the Moonshiners Racing League as well. So appreciate the clarification there. Tony Mirroring, Thomas Kolmacheski continue to run very well in this race, by the way. Again, we talk about Craighead and Falkingham and Hennings and John Ward and Barksdale and going back further, even Champagne at this point in his PGR career, and Westmoreland and Richard Elliott. We talk about the regulars. These guys do it every night. For Mirroring and Kolmacheski coming into a field they don't know, to be confident enough to go up and lead laps, make moves, block, cover these runs, this is really impressive for those 2 in a field that does not know them very well, that they don't know very well, to come up and race like this. Really impressive stuff from that duo so far. Yeah,
we'll see how they play out, but they've been doing really well, especially for that Team Watson setup shop, and those guys. We'll see how these guys work together. And I mean, I think we're going to see it again, though, especially with both of these guys starting on the bottom. I'll be really, really curious to see how this plays out for them. And who knows? We've seen it time and time again with some of these restarts. They're the first ones we've seen that has been able to make the bottom line work. So we'll see how this plays out for them, and I'll be very curious to see how it works out for them as well.
So getting ready to go back under the green flag. Second caution flag of the night has been cleaned off the speedway. Cameron Craighead continues to lead the way, and the twos mirroring Kolmacheski. Of course, we mentioned their willingness to go to the bottom on the last restart. They've done it again here on this one. Trey Whitehead jumps down there as well. And a couple of other cars. Austin Mice is down there. Kevin Champagne is down there. Brock Westmoreland, amongst others, going to the bottom of the racetrack. Past the halfway point, heat race number 5, wrapping up night 2 of the SummerSlam 499. Lap 21 will go on the board. 15 to go in heat 5. Green flag, Craighead and Falkingham timed that one to perfection. They're off and running to turn 1.
Yeah, they got no help, though. Hennings was not able to get a decent enough start. We'll be curious to see how this plays out. If Hennings is going to get a run, mirroring jumping, or actually that's not mirroring, that is Trey Whitehead jumping up to the top. And a big run here going on is Kevin Champagne right behind Trey Whitehead is going to start trying to get some momentum. As now the line is, there's going to start getting momentum now in the bottom lane as well, as now Hennings is catched up to Falkingham and given the shove. And we'll see how this goes as they are 2x2 on the top lane and the bottom lane.
Look at Peter Smetana through the center. He'll bring Hastings and Buys with him. He's going to try to split Barksdale. He'll try to split Westmoreland. He'll get all the way to Kevin Champagne. Power move, Peter Smetana on the 25. He's got Hastings and Buys with him, both running under the Nightmare eSports banner this week. Buys, the new addition to the team as of this week for the SummerSlam 499. Back to the line. Smetana slots in 6. That was a tight move there with Barksdale, but everybody makes it work. 14 to go. Craighead leads up the hill. 1, 2, 3, 4 are clear. Then it's Hastings who makes the run to the bottom. Buys trying to get to him with Pietriadger in tow as they come off turn 2. Now Smetana makes the move down, and they'll lead the middle down the Alabama Gang Super Stretch.
Trey Whitehead seen it ahead of time too. He jumps down the middle to try to get the draft. Champagne jumps to the middle. Peter Smetana jumps to the bottom with no help though, as Smetana's hoping someone's going to go further down as Champagne goes further down. Craighead cannot decide what to do. He's going down. We are going to be, look like 3 wide at one point, able to hang on to it, but a lot of jockeying. Someone's going way down on the left. And big impact for Harold Rothery. And that was a huge impact. It's going to go looking back at the leader. Trey Whitehead's going to leave it, but he's going to be sandwiched in the middle with no help behind.
Folks, this setup is providing so far in these heat races tonight. Whitehead gets split. Hastings got to his right rear with the help of his new teammate Jackson Buys. Inside gets the advantage though. Craighead sweeps bottom to top across the nose of Hastings. Those two know each other well. They've raced against each other in the PGR Light Series for a couple of seasons now. Back to turn 3. That leaves Champagne on the bottom with Pietriadger and Smetana, who's recovered on the bottom lane. Middle lane is Whitehead, Galati, Westmoreland, Elliott, and then Velicky as the Jack Shack cars try to recover. And the outside is still Craighead, Hastings, Buys, Falkingham, Hennings, and Barksdale. As the middle lane, man, continues to try to go backwards. They are trying to get it going, but it's just not getting much of a run. And the Jack Shack cars are looking 4 wide. Carl Bond around Ward. Velicky around Richard Elliott. Those cars making moves. Up front, man, that was Carl Bond again as he tried to get to the right rear of Barksdale, and Barksdale slammed the door shut in his face. 2x2, 6 rows deep, but how long will it last?
Probably won't last long because Carl Bond was adamant on the radio there with that incident, as there's a huge shoving, more cars bouncing off the wall there. Everyone's trying to get momentum. Peter Smetana is looking up to the middle. Carl Bond looks to the middle. A few guys jump to the middle while Hastings jumps all the way down to the low line, as there's a stack up on the high side. A few people disappearing. Trevor gets loose, able to hang on to it as we're still green. Everyone's able to hang on to his. Kevin Champagne now is in the middle as Austin Pietriadger comes out of nowhere, is taking the lead.
Yeah, again, there's almost too much happening for us to talk about it all at once. 4 wide out back. Watch out around John Ward and Michael Barksdale. They're going to make it work for now, though, as Brian Hennings continues to try to work out of that gap. So does Landon Velke with John Ward. Up front, that has simplified things. Petrie to the lead. Dimitri Hennessy, remember he spun a second ago. He's second. And then it's the TWRS duo of Mirroring and Thomas Kolmacheski on the bottom side of the racetrack. Trouble. Around gets towards the back. Brian Hennings, Trey Whitehead. Couple more cars. Olney, Oswornoth involved as well. There's one more car that's pinned to the outside wall. That's Terry Wilson.
Man, and that was really unfortunate too, because the wreck happened. Oswornoth tried to check up, and it rotated around the car of, I believe that was Mason Only. And man, that could have been at least it was in the back of the field, but that could have been a lot worse had it been closer up to the front.
Third caution of this heat race here is just past the lap 22 mark, with Austin Petrie out front of the field. Brian Hennings is involved in this in the 74 for Team PGR. So for him, he's got some damage to come address on pit road amongst a couple of the cars towards the tail end of the field, including Trevor Oswornoth, who you talked about there, the 89, as he tried to make the save out of this. First car I saw getting around was Terry Wilson in the all-blue 17. We'll go back and take a look and see what happened to him on the back straightaway as he got out of shape about halfway down the Alabama Gang Superstretch and triggered this crash. That puts a couple of front runners into even worse positions than they were. You see Hennings right there, Oswornoth, Olney. You talked about Oswornoth trying to make the save and clipping Olney. Trey Whitehead got the same fate from Brian Hennings as he went down the racetrack. You see there almost synchronized spins for those two cars. The 89 clips the 35. Man, big hit for Olney. I did not realize he got the wall quite as much as he did. And then further down, Hennings got into Whitehead. A couple of innocent bystanders there. Oswornoth's going to the center, and as Terry Wilson work up the speedway here, they're kind of both coming down just a little bit. Well, no, Oswornoth, look at his right side tires on the hash. Wilson coming up and up and up and runs out of room, and it's on from there.
Yep, and then poor Hennings had nowhere to go, and that comes back down, and you could see how quickly Whitehead turning far left as he could, and then just the impact there spins Whitehead around, and then he's seen further up as both of these guys were spinning around. Trevor Oswornoth trying to avoid everything and making slight contact with Mason Only, and Only goes around. So Oswornoth might have gotten away with not having a significant amount of damage, but we'll see how the rest of the damage is for the Jack Shack crew. Is right now only 23rd on down is all in the pits to get that damage repaired.
So third caution of the night as you look on board briefly here with the Jack Shack owner, Trevor Oswornoth. They've had so much success putting their cars into the feature in the LCQ, and in this race, it just has not gone to plan for Velke, Oswornoth, and Carlbahn, the three Jack Shack branded cars. And, I feel like the eyes tell a lot there for Oswornoth, and I feel like they're telling a story of just a race that has not gone his way. They've made the right moves at times, but the race just has never come to those three cars. Now, they still have an opportunity, by the way. Again, we're saying this, like it's a complete and total death sentence for those cars. It's not. There are still just over 8 laps to go in this race. There's still plenty of time. We've seen it before. You can go from 26th to 9th. For example, a Jack Shack car in Chase Mastretta in our last heat race ran from 26th to a 9th place finish in our last race. It can be done. You just have to stay with it. Those three cars, again, I guarantee you they're not done with this yet. Formulating a plan now for the guys out looking in. It's crunch time.
And it is. And you can even see here, Daniel Falkingham, our PGR 500 winner, he is mired down in 14th after everything that was happening up front. So Falkingham's in a position that he could potentially end up falling out of this as well. And I don't think he has a provisional either because of Malik Ray having the championships provisional. So that's going to be another significant question there, is how is Falkingham going to recover to get himself back up there? As right now, Jackson Buys is that last car right now in that transfer spot for the LCQ in 12th.
So reset the field again for another restart. Again, this one's officially a late race restart now. We're going to have, I believe, just about 7 laps to go when we go back green. So we'll choose right here. You're on board with Jackson Buys, who currently occupies the final transfer spot on the racetrack right now. Again, that will change. If the racing we've seen before this point is any indication in this heat, that order will change and change a lot between now and the checkered flag. Austin Petrie, after his first trip to the front of the field today, he will choose first here at the line. He'll go top. So too will Eneseve. And then again, mirroring Champagne, Kolmacheski, all go bottom here on this restart. And it's been such an interesting philosophy to me to watch these two cars, specifically the TWRS cars. Obviously, Champagne has done this a couple times as well. But the 23 and the 69, to continue to drive down to the bottom of the racetrack and try to make that work when we've seen that line not be as successful. I wonder what goes into that decision, because they have been adamant. Every single restart they've chosen the bottom. No other driver has done that to this point in the week.
Oh, and I'll be kind of curious to see how this all plays. I'll be curious to see how this all plays out, because, man, this is going to be an interesting little strategy here to see how this plays out, as someone got caught there with the choose cone as Jacob Dunn has ran over the choose cone, so he is going to start falling back, as he was sitting up there in the transfers positions, I believe. So already another choose cone violation for the 33 of Jacob Dunn this time.
Oh man, what a tough break for a heat winner in February. The driver Ottavio Rossa eSports in Jacob Dunn. He was a heat winner for the 500, and now he's in a bit of desperate territory here late in his heat in the SummerSlam 499 to try to make it back-to-back starts in a marquee event for PGR eSports. So again, we will restart with just 7 laps to go in this heat race. We are approaching the territory where we'd need overtime. Again, all 4 heat races at this point have needed that overtime attempt to complete the race distance. We'll see if we go 5 for 5 to end off night 2. Petri Adger trying to join Scott Warren in the Underdog Winners Club this week. If he was able to get the job done, considering the field he has got behind him. But a number of drivers have not made their last statements in this race yet. Mirroring and Kolmacheski, I think, are in that group in terms of the PGR side of things. A huge win for that duo if they're able to go to victory lane and both advance to the feature on Sunday. Will this be the last restart? I've asked that question a lot this week. We'll see if it gets answered this time. Green flag in the Simrat Market restart zone. Green flag, and away we go. And Mirroring got a pretty good jump on the bottom of the racetrack alongside Petri Adger, whose help is there first, though. It's the top side. Hastings into the back of Enesive, into the back of Petri Adger, and the top line is 4, 5, 6, 7 cars deep back to Jackson Buys.
Yeah, and you can see Champagne getting right back on the Mirroring, as well as he's going to do everything he can. Carl Bond looks up top. There goes Jackson Buys. Falkingham is going to kind of start dwindling over to the high side as well. You can see we're already going 3 by 3. Hastings looks low. There goes Petri on the block. Misses the block as he is going to go 4 wide for the lead here. And this is going to be trouble for Austin Pieri as everyone's going around him.
Wow, Austin Mize cuts him a massive break. I think that's the car that was in the center lane as he cuts Petri Adger a huge break in the middle lane and lets him up in line. That's going to let a couple of cars up in front of them. Kevin Champagne gets away with the lead. NSC behind them. And then here comes the Jack Shack. Evan Carlbon to the bottom of the racetrack. He'll take Buys with him. Champagne throws the block top to bottom into turn 1. Buys stays with NSC in the middle. John Ward is topside for Dega Pros. Buys with a tight left turn off turn 2. That was as tight a window as we've seen all week. He'll have a teammate now out back in Hunter Hastings. They're going to run the middle. They've got a couple of cars with them. Smetana, Craighead, both in that line, amongst others. Landon Velicki pokes the nose out. Smetana went to go around him. Can't make it happen. Velicki jumps back middle. Osmonaut will pick up Smetana on the bottom side. Strother's in this battle as well. Off turn 4. It's 5 laps to go at the line. Champagne and Buys battle for the race lead.
And look at Falkingham. Falkingham's starting to get some momentum. He's been pushing Austin Pieri to get back up to that main group, as Falkingham is gonna be pushing Ozernoff and does a late block further back. The high line is starting to struggle. There's a huge stack up there as well. Some people are falling back. Henny's kind of stuck in the middle. Landon Velicki's having issues, as well as Kevin Champagne and Jackson Buys getting a pretty decent gap here, about a 3-car gap. It's we're 3 wide further back, and it's a lot of shuffling around with Hastings right now trying to hold the middle lane.
Yeah, that bottom lane's going to get going here. Falkingham and Dunn are the pushers. You got to imagine it's going to start to go. Carlbon throws his nose out again. This time he'll have John Ward as his help as he's to the inside of Champagne. Craighead through on the bottom. Strother through on the bottom. Falkingham through on the bottom as Hastings, Velicki, and company try to get the middle going. Champagne maintains the lead for now. Jackson Buys has been a really good soldier for the 91 so far in this race. Almost turns him out of shape, though. 4 to go at the line. They continue to go 1, 2, 3 up top.
Ward.
Trouble. John Ward around. Craighead around, and this one's going to be a big one. Craighead back up the racetrack. No caution yet. There it is. They crash again in turn 2. Big hits. Jacob Dunn, John Hudson, and others. Multi-car accident. We're going to overtime.
Yep, and Falkingham had a saving grace there because he could have easily been caught up in that accident. And what a save for Falkingham, because that could have been disastrous. And man, here we go again. 5 for 5 now when it comes to these green-white checkers.
5 for 5 indeed. This one got started back around John Ward and then got started with Cameron Craighead in the one machine. A couple of separate incidents here in this one. And then it got started even further up. Jacob Dunn ends up in the wall somehow as well. So we'll take a look back and see how this one got kicked off to send us to an overtime attempt in this fifth heat race as well. It was John Ward, the first car I saw get out of line, and Hunter Hastings gets split. He ends up 4 wide, and coming down the racetrack is Hastings as they try to make 4 wide work, and he comes down a little bit too far. Man, Hastings flies too close to the sun. There is some net code there, but he was way too close to the John Ward machine there and gets him out of shape, and he goes around. Then in the ensuing stack up, Craighead gets loose, and there's just nowhere for Strother to go. And into the back of Cameron Craighead, and around went the 1. Even those cars made the save. I'm wondering what happens to Jacob Dunn in the secondary. Whitehead into Hudson, into Dunn, and it's on from there.
Yep, and you can see there the secondary contact for Dunn sends him straight up and just annihilates the outside wall. There was another car that was involved in that as well, and I cannot tell who that is. I can only see the 3 and the 33, but that was a big impact there. But Jacob Dunn having significant damage in that.
Mauricio Marquez Ramos is the other car involved, the 96, as he sits on pit road with severe damage to his race car. So you see here, Ward has already gotten turned. Craighead gets turned in the secondary. Falkingham actually does get a piece of this, a couple of them. Falkingham gets turned by Smetana out the back of this incident as well. And then coming back up, you're going to see Dunn end up in the wall with Marquez Ramos and John Hudson. And that's big hits for all 3 cars. We just talked about the importance of the penalty for Jacob Dunn. It bites him right here in this incident as he ends up against the safer barrier.
Yeah, really unfortunate there too, but you know how it is. You have to be very methodical on the choose cones, and you cannot afford any of those violations. And usually, sometimes when you get those violations, it usually will bite you very badly sometimes, especially at a super speedway like this.
So John Ward comes off pit road. A number of cars are still down there fixing some damage. Peter Smetana, Howard Strother, Jacob Dunn are all on pit road. Should be noted that Terry Wilson retired back on lap 25. Mauricio Marquez Ramos also continues to fix damage on pit road. He is already 1 lap down. His attempt at the SummerSlam 499 is likely over. So we now set up for an overtime attempt. Again, we will go to our one and only green-white checkered. So for those just joining us, let's preface how this overtime procedure will work, because it came into play in our last race. There will not be a caution thrown. There is only 1 green-white checkered attempt here past regulation. This race will finish under green no matter what happens on this opening lap. Any incidents on either of the 2 laps will be reviewed post-race by race control, and any penalties will be dished out as quickly as possible to determine the official results. Remember, in Heat 4, our second DQ of the weekend in terms of a last lap incident, as PGR 500 champ Wyatt Gray was disqualified for his incident on the last lap. That took him from in to out of the SummerSlam 499. So just because there's no caution does not mean drivers can run hog wild and do whatever they please on this restart. The standards will still apply. The rule book will still be applied. There just won't be a caution thrown if there is an incident. Let's reset the field pre-choose. Kevin Champagne will choose first. He's the leader as of now. Jackson Baez second. Dimitri Enesiv in third. Corey Taylor in fourth. And Brock Westmoreland is up to fifth. Plus 26, by the way, for Brock Westmoreland here for Team PGR. Evan Carlbon is sixth. Hunter Hastings is seventh. Jimmy Jason, involved in an incident early, is eighth. Landon Velicki is ninth. And Richard Elliott is 10th. Last 2 cars in transfer spots, Austin Pietriadger and Trevor Osbornoth. Some cars on the inside looking out. Brian Hennings, 14th. Trey Whitehead, 18th. Cameron Craighead, 19th. Tony Meering, 20th. Tomacheski, 21st. Daniel Falkingham in 22nd. What an upset that would be. John Ward in 24th. Strother, Smetana, Dunn, all outside looking in. A number of the big names are now in desperation mode as we get ready for a restart. And looking at the choose, Champagne, Buys, and NSE all hold serve. First one to go to the bottom, Jack Shack teammates Carl Bond and Vickery will lead the bottom back to the green flag.
This will get interesting too, because Carbon still has a little bit of nose damage, so we'll see how this plays out. And Falkingham won on the choose. He fell back to 24th now as well. Brock Westmoreland, who had a great recovery, him being up in the outside, he fell back a few spots. But this is gonna get really interesting, and I'm looking forward to seeing how this goes, because Austin Petrie is like the third in line on that inside. And don't look now, but Brian Hennings is up in this mix as well.
An interesting decision, to say the least, from the Jack Shack cars here, but not an unfamiliar one. If you'll remember, last night, eventual race winner David Flanagan chose the bottom a couple of occasions, including late race restarts, and ended up in victory lane. A couple of their cars have tried the bottom throughout this week and had success, and those two will now hinge their hopes for the SummerSlam 499 on the bottom getting a good start. Out back, I look forward to chaos here, because there are big time names outside looking in that are going to be making moves here. Again, you know, Oswornoth lines up on the outside lane. He's out now. He's got to make something happen. Whitehead, Smetana, Craighead, Dunn, Falkingham, Ward, they'll all be coming to the front, but they only have 2 laps to do it. 1 attempt at overtime, 2 laps to go on night 2 of the SummerSlam 499. One of the biggest name heat races of the week comes down to this. Green flag back in the air. Champagne is beaten to the punch by Carl Bond. He got going on the bottom, but the help is better topside with Buys and NSE.
You can see there's a little bit of stack up. Hennings jumps up to the top. Champagne's getting the run, but Jackson Buys is not getting enough there to Kevin Champagne. But it's 3 on 4 right now, as here comes Barksdale starting to close in, and Hunter Hastings is going to start looking on the inside move.
Hastings through the center, but nobody goes with him. He's got no energy out back because the field is a little bit fractured on this start. Craighead, Falkingham, and Dunn try to get something going out back as Hastings tries to throw his car in line. Top lane continues to be Champagne. They continue to lead the way. The bottom lane has not yet gotten fully connected. They're trying to now here off of 4. Carl Bond continues to lead that. No big bonsai moves from out back yet. Man, the bottom is really struggling here through the tri-oval, and the Jack Shack cars have to bail. And here in the tri-oval, it's all simplified. White flag, 1 lap to go, sir. 5 wide trouble out back.
Oh, Falkingham got a piece of it as well. Oswornoth is involved in it. Falkingham still hanging on, but it is now single file all the way up front. Next cars that are on the bottom as Hunter Hastings comes down. He's going to try to get some help from Michael Barksdale now, but it's only 4 on probably about 12 on the top lane.
Veliky and Carl Bond, I think, are the cars that are going to move, but when are they going to do it? Here into 3, they've got to go soon. Champagne will pull the entire field down to the bottom of the racetrack here in turns 3 and 4 for the final time. They still have something to race for out back. Those spots are still on the line. As out front, Champagne and Buys, mano-y-mano for the win in Heat 5. When is the move in the tri-oval for Buys? There it is. Jackson Buys to the outside. Oh, trouble in the tri-oval. Ennesive gets turned, scrambles for the transfer spots. Jackson Buys wins in a 5-wide photo finish for the transfers.
What a finish and a huge wreck on behind, but man, what a shock. Daniel Falkingham out, Oswornoth out. I mean, and Craighead misses out by 1, but it's going to be unofficial right now, especially with the way everything played out, because Dimitri did not. It finished outside of the top 12, and he was in a position to transfer.
Obviously, wait for race control to make the results official. This one does not get to the checkered flag clean. A couple of cars actually, I think, end up out that were in. So we'll wait for an official decision on that. In the meantime, the win's official for the newest member of Nightmare Esports. How about a way to debut for your new team than to go and win your heat race and put yourself right in the feature for the SummerSlam 499 as Jackson Buys comes across the line in the first position. He'll do the donuts here on the front straightaway. The other 2 men joining him, Kevin Champagne and Tony Mirroring. We talked about that car a little bit earlier. He's in the 3rd position, at least unofficially, but it's donuts on the front stretch for Jackson Buys. So Buys will park it on the start-finish line, and we'll await a word with him in just one moment. Before that, I think we'll do unofficial results. So now let's save the unofficial results. Obviously, an incident there in the trial, so we will wait for race control to make a decision on the top 12 and come back to results in just a moment. In the meantime, our heat race winner is standing by in the broadcast booth. Jackson Bias, the boys in the broadcast booth, you get a copy?
Yeah, I got a copy.
Well, this was the craziest race of the week, and that's saying something after Heat 3 and 4 both had their moments. This one, I think, was just a little bit crazier than those. You know, from your perspective there, obviously had moments where you were in the mid-pack towards the tail end, but spent a lot of time at the front. What did you learn over the 35 laps tonight in your heat race?
I learned to take the runs when you get them, and you want to cool in 1 and 2 so you can have push in 3 and 4 on a green-white checkered. And work with the people around you the most, protect them. I did that all race, and it paid off in the end. People were helping me.
By now, you know, a lot of us have heard about the team move, obviously moving over to run under the Nightmare Esports banner for this week's event. You know, what kind of boost is it for, you know, not only your own morale, but for the team morale going into this event this week, knowing that you went out and in your debut race, you won your heat race? What does that do for you guys?
I think it gives us a big boost of momentum, but one of us or some of us from this race didn't make it. I think Dan was the notable. He didn't make it. I think Cameron's going to get in, and Hunter. We walked in with 4 of us in this. 3 of us are going to come out of it. 1 of us will be going to the feature. I think I'm the first Nightmare driver to walk into the feature. Jack Shack, they got a ton of cars. It's going to be hard to beat them. They had 31 something entries signed up, I think, of 240. It's going to be hard to take them out, but I just got to keep our heads up, keep the momentum rolling, and hopefully we can pick up a few more heat wins.
Well, look, you've really burst on the scene in PGR over the last couple of years, and you've now gotten a few series wins as well. But the marquee events mean something just a little bit different. And now that you're in the feature, you know, kind of start to game plan for that race. What's the plan to make it one better, to get a career-defining win and raise the championship belt on Sunday?
Being in position, I did that last year in the Gen 6 car, but I made a bad move heading into 3 and 4 with like 6 to go. I was second and took a right rear, and that move allowed 4 or 5 cars to clear on the bottom up in front of me and put me at the back of the line, and just so happened to be all those cars that cleared was part of Malik's team, and they were going to stay there for the rest of the race. And it's going to be positioning yourself on the white flag to not get taken out throughout the race and to stay alive the whole time. It's going to be hard. We'll definitely see when the feature rolls around if I really think I've got a shot or not. I think I do as of now, but I got to not get wrecked. That's something I've been pretty bad at this year.
Well, you get through the chaos tonight and capture a heat victory. So before we let you go and start the game plan, not only the top 24 shootout race, but for the 499 miler on Sunday, is there anybody you'd like to thank or shout out?
Shout out to Baker and Triscaro for putting this up. Shout out to you for broadcasting, and shout out to everyone who's part of the broadcast team. Shout out to the whole social team. Shout out to my family for putting me on the sim. Shout out to my grandmother who likes to watch my races. Shout out to Nightmare. They were all a huge help tonight. Shout out to Max Steinda for the spot. And I give all glory to God.
Jackson, thanks for the time. Congratulations on the heat win here in heat race number 5. Go enjoy it. Go celebrate. We'll see you Saturday night for the top 24 shootout and Sunday afternoon for the SummerSlam 499.
Thank you, and see you then.
Jackson Bias, that's a heck of a way to debut for your new team. You heard him mention 3 of the 4 cars running under the Nightmare banner make it in as part of this race. We still have not heard any official race control calls yet about the top 12, whether or not it is official at this point. So Jackson Bias' win is official. I mean, they were 5 wide across the line. Let's go back and look at the incident here going into the trial, as it's really Eneseve that comes down. Honestly, looking at that one, Tyler, I want your take on this too, but it looks like Eneseve trying to protect the spot may come down more than the other car. And I again, forgive me, I cannot tell which car that is. More than that car comes up. I think it's more that Eneseve comes down there. And as such, Eneseve ends up outside the transfer spots.
Yeah, I think he was kind of trying to follow Hennings or not Hennings, the one in front. Hennessy does everything he can. He starts following back down, and it just to me, it looks like he just self-turns himself and he takes himself out, as well as I believe, I'm trying to see what number that is. That's a 12, and it's
Corey
really
Taylor is the
important.
other car. Corey Taylor is the other car involved in that finish. I just went back and got confirmation.
Yeah, and unfortunately, that's unfortunate because both of those drivers would have been in. Especially Inisef could have been in the feature, and then Corey would have been the first one in the LCQ, and it's really unfortunate for both of those drivers as they both ended up finishing outside of the transfer spots. But yeah, to me, it just seemed like Inisef just started following one of the cars and then came down not realizing that there was another car there and took himself out.
So now we will get our unofficial results. Again, we've not gotten confirmation yet from race control as to whether or not this is fully official, but looking at the replay, I think it's pretty safe to say that these results will stand as they are right now. Jackson Vai's win is definitely official. A heck of a run for the brand new driver for Nightmare Esports. Kevin Champagne will race in the feature for the second straight year as he goes with a second place finish tonight. And a great run for Tony Mirroring in the TWRS group and Beast Mode Performance. He'll finish third. He's locked in to a spot on Sunday. Thomas Kolmacheski finishes fourth also for that group in the duo car in the 69. He'll race in the LCQs. So too will the Jack Shack's Evan Carlbon. Brian Hennings finishes sixth for Team PGR. His run continues, as does his teammate in Brock Westmoreland. Landon Velicki finishes eighth. He'll advance to the LCQ, as will Hunter Hastings. Boy, that first LCQ is shaping up to be an absolutely loaded field. Austin Petrie-Adger finishes in the 10th spot, with Michael Barksdale in 11th and Trey Whitehead finishing in 12th. As of now, the final two cars racing on Saturday.
Yep, and then Cameron Craighead is right now will be the outside looking in, so we'll see if there's any kind of future EOL penalties that brings him into the last chance qualifier, but we'll see how that plays out. Richard Elliott is on the outside as well in 14th. Mason Only in 15th. Jacob Dunn having an unfortunate event in 16th. Austin Mays in 17th. Dmitry Inisef, who could have been going into the feature, now out in 18th, and then Corey Taylor in 19th, and Daniel Falkingham, the biggest loser in this one, in 20th place and out of the chance for a SummerSlam 499. John Hudson in 21st, Trevor Ozernoff in 22nd, Howard Strofer in 23rd, John Ward, another innocent bystander, in 25th, and Howard Rothery in 25th.
Yeah, Rothery goes 25th. Last five cars on the field. Peter Smetana, who ran such a great race, finishes one lap down in 26th. Joey Galati in at 27th. Jimmy Jason, 28th. Mauricio Marquez Ramos in at 29th. And Terry Wilson rounds out the field in 30th. So again, we assume those results are going to be made official. Again, we have not heard one way or the other. If that is not the case, we'll update you tomorrow on the broadcast as we open with Heat 6 if those results do change. We'll start to wrap things up from night 2 of the PGR SummerSlam 499, and what a night it was. A total tone shift from last night, a night we thought would set the tone. Tonight, the racing got as wild as ever, and I'll tell you what, as we leave this night, Tyler, I cannot help but be even more excited for Sunday if the racing even touches the quality that we had at times in these heat races tonight.
Oh man, it's the way this is going to go. Oh gosh, I'm scared to see how the LCQ is going to get. I mean, we're going to have some crazy stacked fields in there, and I mean, even the feature. Well, it's going to be interesting to see how the rest of the heats play out and see how this feature starts stacking up. And I'm looking forward to it because oh my goodness, just when we think we've seen it all, it's a lot more is going to happen.
So let's update you real quick on a housekeeping note for tomorrow. Again, that will wrap up night 2 of the SummerSlam 499. We'll now transition to night 3. Tomorrow night, Friday Night Lights in the SummerSlam 499. The final 3 heat races to set the field for the top 24 shootout and Saturday's last chance qualifiers. That will get kicked off tomorrow night around 7:45 p.m. Eastern, just like tonight's racing did. It will be the same schedule as tonight, 3 races in a row that will wrap up with heats 6, 7, and 8. The last 36 spots in the remaining round of the SummerSlam 499 are on the line tomorrow, 7:45 p.m. Eastern, right here on PGR Esports. That's tomorrow night's action. Of course, Saturday LCQs kick off at 6 o'clock right here on PGR Esports. We'll have 2 LCQs, the pole shootout race, as well as the last chance provisional race, which we're looking forward to as well. And then Sunday, around 1:30 p.m. is PGR pre-race for the biggest sim racing event of the summer, the SummerSlam 499. That will be live on PGR eSports and simulcasted on the iRacing official YouTube page. Want to say some thank yous on the way out tonight as we get ready to wish you farewell and good night for the evening. Want to thank all of our heat sponsors really quickly from the evening over the course of the last 3 heat races. Of course, got started back in Heat 3. Mark Mondell Racing, Kanawha Valley, Key and Fob, and Sim Shop, North Star Fire Protection, and Sim Rat Market, as well as Way Too Easy Movers, the Jack Shack, VRX Simulators, and John Hudson Art. All of our sponsors, the PGR SummerSlam 499, greatly appreciate their support for this event. I also want to thank my broadcast team tonight. Our producer was Michael Triscaro down on the controls doing a fantastic job. My co-host tonight was Tyler Vickery. My name is Dawson Wise. All of us at PGR say thank you for your attendance and participation in tonight's broadcast. If you enjoyed tonight, I'm telling you, we are just getting started. There's so much racing left to go. Be sure to join us back here tomorrow night at 7:45 Eastern for the final 3 heats of the SummerSlam 499. Until then, congratulations to our 3 heat winners tonight, and we'll see what tomorrow brings from Talladega. Good night from the SummerSlam.
I played a couple of simulators and this was like very responsive, especially the hydraulics and stuff, the motion and stuff was really, really on point. But you feel like you really driving, it feels real.
It adds so much to the experience. It's just really, really cool.
It was pretty awesome.
Green flag is in the air. We are racing. 3x3. Almost no trouble. Around goes Alex Hill. On into the outside wall goes Hill. They're wrecking big time out back. We're not going to throw a caution. Finish. Who gets it in the line? Cody Nagels wins it in Talladega.
I played a couple of